Hello everyone. Good news. I was able to pay the connection fee very early. So I won't be going away. Anyways, welcome to a new story. One of my favorites actually. Welcome to What If Azathoth Was in Love with Issei. If you enjoyed the story, please like, share and subscribe. It really helps me out. I did not write this story. The original writer is Akuma Kami 64. Please go and show them a lot of support so they can continue this awesome story. Now let us dive in. At this rate, jerking off to porn is the closest I'll ever get to doing it before I go off to college, which means I'll be a virgin forever and die alone, Issei lamented miserably as he stood on a bridge, the sun setting behind him. Excuse me? Issei? Issei Hayadu? Issei blinked at the voice, turning in surprise at the distinctly female voice. More than that, she actually sounded happy to say his name instead of disgusted or cautious. And lo and behold, there was a cute girl standing before him with a smile. She had mesmerizing blue eyes and light brunette hair up in a pair of pigtails with black ribbons. Her boobs weren't huge, but still respectable. While he didn't recognize her, she was wearing the Kuo uniform, so he assumed he must just not have seen her often. Yes? Is there something I can help you with? He asked curiously. Despite his well-earned reputation as a pervert, he was a gentleman in many other respects. She smiled shyly for a moment as her shoe seemed determined to wipe away a specific spot on the street. My name is Azathoth. I'm sorry for asking this so suddenly, and I know this is a bit backwards, but, do you mind going on a date with me? Issei swore he felt his mind break trying to process that simple yet, to his teenage mind, profound request. Was this real? Was this his life? No, wait, no time to freak out with a prospective girlfriend right in front of him. Why yes, of course, he answered quickly. Thank you. Aza declared perkily, clapping her hands together. Meet up after class tomorrow, she suggested hopefully. I'm be there, Aza. Issei assured with a wide, top-of-the-world grin. Should I walk you home? He asked uncertainly. Aza giggled at the question. Save that for after the date, she answered with a wink. Don't worry, I don't live far. Okay. And don't worry Aza, you won't regret this. Issei assured before heading off. And neither will you, Issei, Aza promised to herself with a soft smile. Her expression darkened as a scowl marred her face before she turned around with an expectant look. Right in front of her was a raven-haired girl with a rather large chest and a red school uniform, purple eyes gazing at the brunette with suspicion and annoyance. Well, I wasn't expecting someone to steal my plan from me, the fallen angel mused in thinly veiled displeasure. Well, you did force my hand. After all, I can't have you playing with Issei like that, Azathoth answered in completely undisguised contempt. Funny, you don't feel like a devil, but you're definitely no angel. What's your interest in his sacred gear? Rainier questioned, debating if she should just stab this tart where she stood. Aza tilted her head at that. Sacred gear, she repeated with a raised eyebrow. Oh, don't play coy. What other possible reason would you be putting this act on for that low stash? Rainier paused as she felt heavy pressure on her body, accompanying an all-encompassing feeling of dread. Aza's hair darkened mildly as she glared into the soul of the fallen angel. This is my only warning, fallen angel. Your kind squabbles do not concern me. Leave Issei alone or I will make you regret your very existence, she vowed, turning on her heel without another word, her hair fading back to normal. Rainier glared at the retreating form, but accepted this as neither the time or place for a battle, leaving to rethink her plans. Meanwhile. Wait, so a fallen angel was about to approach Issei Hayadu, and then this, Azathoth showed up and asked him for a date? Just like that? Ria summarized with a scrunched brow as Kaneko nodded. Well, that's no coincidence. Someone else has been keeping an eye on him, Akino commented with a hum. And you're sure you can't identify what she is? Rias asked curiously. She is either good at hiding it or something I haven't encountered before, Kaneko answered with a scowl, some of her hair still standing on ends from being a bystander in that encounter. But a Kuo uniform? Does her name ring any bells? Rias inquired, getting Negative's head shakes. No, which is strange. A girl taking an interest in one of the perverted trio? You'd think that'd make its way around the gossip vine, Akino pointed out with a sly smirk. We'll have to look into that. It is strange if someone has been able to fly under our radar like this, and even stranger still if she's unaware this school is under Gremory jurisdiction, Rias noted, tapping her finger on her desk contemplatively. For now, we should stick with the plan. We have no more idea of what this Rabufudo is planning than we did the Fallen, and they're not likely to just give up either. More so when we don't know how dangerous she is, Kaneko added in bluntly. And how dangerous do you think she is? Rias inquired with a raised eyebrow. Kaneko paused before reluctantly answering. I felt like I was a kitten again, who had just been dropped into the sea, and was staring down a killer whale. Well, that's not foreboding at all, Akino commented in jest as Rias sighed at her antics. Just be careful tomorrow, Kaneko. I know you can handle yourself against a fallen, but we'll have to play it safe around this Aza, Rias cautioned, getting a dutiful nod from the cat girl. Time skip. To say Issei was on cloud 9 would have been an understatement. Short of actual sex, this day had been the best thing he ever imagined happening with him. A full day with a lovely, cute girl that was genuinely happy to spend time with him. He probably took a little too much enjoyment rubbing her in his friends' faces when they met at the gate, but Aza just gave a snorting giggle at their dumbstruck expressions, a sound Issei found extra adorable on her part. So, what kind of movie do you want to watch? Issei asked curiously as they stood outside a movie theater, looking over the options. Kingsglaive, Volcanian, Infinite Burst, Gold, he read off idly, head tilting as one caught his eye. Rudolph the Black Cat, he suggested uncertainly. Actually, if you don't mind, I want to see this one, Aza answered with a grin as she pointed to her desired film. Issei rose a brow and smirked. You're a monster girl, eh? Issei joked in amusement. Shin Godzilla it is. Meanwhile, a raven and blonde duet spied the couple heading into the theater, one annoyed and the other bored. So, did you plan on dragging it out this long if she didn't beat you to him, Rainier? The blonde female asked, wearing a black Lolita dress with white frills, looking completely uninterested in what they were watching. Rainier shrugged, taking on her true form, sans wings and with a more conservative outfit in the form of a business suit. Well, I was going to wait until Sunday, but I was leaving the date up to him, she answered uncaringly. Why are you here again, Mitlet? Let him live out his fantasy for a day before killing him, eh? Don't know if that's cruel or kind of you, Mitlet responded with a dark smirk before shrugging. As for me, I needed to stretch my legs for a bit. Being cooped up at base can be a bit suffocating after a while. By the way, you sure she's not human? She's hiding it, but that bitch leaked some power to intimate me, Rainier responded with a twisted smirk of her own. Hoo-hoo, which was her mistake. I probably would have just come alone otherwise. Now I have backup. Oh well, they'll get to have a lovely first date and die together. So romantic, Mitlet feigned gushing. Still, what could she even want with him? She's not from around here, and regardless of how rare sacred gears are, seems a bit of trip for this punk, even if we don't know what the gear is. Maybe she knows what it is, somehow, or maybe she's just desperate, Rainier speculated. I really don't care, it won't matter come tonight. Time skip. And top it all off with a sunset by the park fountain, Issei stated with a hopeful grin towards Aza. So, how'd I do for my first day, he asked, trying to sound playful, but clearly nervous with how he scratched his cheek. Our first day, Aza corrected with a smile as she held his arm. And it was fantastic, Issei. This is the best day I've had in ages. Oh please, you don't look like you've seen ages, Issei teased, relief rolling off his shoulders from her approval. I just happen to have a wonderful beauty regiment, Aza countered, mock posing with her nose up and hand to her chest. While Issei wouldn't deny Aza was a hottie, the over-exaggerated pose was too funny to not snicker at. Well, I guess this is the part where I walk you home, he asked with a held tilt. Oh, yeah, right, Aza said uncertainly, as if she remembered something that she had forgotten until now. If you're worried about your folks not wanting you out with a boy or something, I don't have to walk you to the front door, Issei offered, wanting to help put her at ease even if he didn't know what the problem was. No, it's nothing like that, Aza promised, biting her lip. You see dash. Well, isn't this just sweet, a sickly sweet voice called, prompting Aza to frown as Issei turned to see a black-haired beauty in a business suit, giving them a rather nasty smirk. A couple of lovebirds, out at play. Issei looked confused while trying not to stare at her bosom in front of Aza. I'm sorry, ma'am, is there a problem, he asked, not recognizing her and knowing he wouldn't forget seeing a figure like that out of his porn collection. You could say that, little boy, for you at least, Rainier mocked sultrily. I thought I told you to stay away from him, Aza reminded darkly. Yes, well, I'm not fond of taking orders, Rainier taunted with a chuckle. Friend of yours? Issei murmured to Aza, who shook her head. She's here to kill you, Issei, Aza informed darkly. Wadash? Kill me? Why, what did I do to her? Issei asked in disbelief, looking at the beauty with renewed caution. Was she some kind sexy hitwoman, luring her targets with her generous assets? Oh, it's not about what you did and all about what you have, little boy, Rainier declared as her outfit vanished, spreading her wings as it was replaced by her BDSM-style items of black latex. Holy shit, that was hot and terrifying, Issei said, taking a step back, but making sure Aza was still at least a step behind him. I had hoped that I had scared her off when I asked you out, Aza said with a deep sigh. I really wanted to wait until later to reveal this. Reveal? Wait, you're like her? Issei asked in shock, questioning if anything he knew was even real now. It doesn't really matter what she is, you're both about to be dead. Rainier declared as she formed of a spear of light. And don't think I didn't come prepared. All at once, several winged figures burst from the trees, flying overhead with their own spears of light. Oh shit, Issei muttered in fear, not understanding why this was happening or what he could do to save himself or Aza. Issei, Aza spoke up, her voice surprisingly comforting and unafraid. Trust me, it'll be fine. A bit overkill, Rainier? Calawarner called out from the sky. If it gets the job done, then don't complain, Donasek chided gruffly. Quiet, we need to let the lovely couple have their final moments, Middlet said with a vicious smirk. Kidding. I just wanted the first throw. With that, all 4 spears were thrown and unleashed. At Aza. Atha, no. Issei called out, rushing to push her out of the way. Until he wasn't. Shouldn't. Couldn't. The sky vanished, filled with swirling and infinite blackness as the earth trembled. The spears halted before they ever touched her before dissolving into bright dust. What is this? Rainier said as she tried to fly, only to find her wings wouldn't move. Her body wouldn't move. Only her head. It was much the same for her comrades, frozen in midair. Little flies should mind who they might be swatted by, Aza's voice came without her actually speaking, echoing throughout the area. Now be vanished into the abyss. What's happening? Let me go. Middlet screamed as something grasped her out of the air. The air around her twisted and deformed to reveal a tentacle, made of ancient gnarled skin that was covered in mouths and thorns. The tendril's length went into a black distortion in the air, a portal that it was dragging her into. The other fallen soon found themselves in the same situation, struggling against the otherworldly appendages. What are you? Who are you? Rainier cried out with terrified eyes as she was given the roughest of treatment, the limb contorting around her wings, as if to break or even tear them from her, before being pulled away from reality itself. Aza ignored her as she turned to Issei, who had fallen to the ground while staring up at her with scared and uncomprehending eyes. Issei, she called, her voice echoing throughout eternity. For Issei could not see the Aza before him. All he could see was the great, eldritch mass floating through space. Countless limbs, infinite jaws, and a terrifyingly massive maw at the center. Issei, Aza called again, softly. I'm sorry, I didn't want you learn this way. I wanted to ease you into it. He didn't answer, didn't move. He wasn't sure he even existed anymore save that she was addressing him. She knelt down, her hair brightening as her face softened sorrowfully. I promise, I'll help you through this. And if you want, I'll even let you forget me. Issei blinked slowly as he felt, whatever he had felt, creep back beneath the visage of Aza. He didn't say anything, shock still freezing his mind. She smiled, stroking his cheek comfortingly. Allow to introduce myself more honestly, I am Azathoth. And I love you, Issei Hayadu. Naturally, Issei only had one response left available to him. He passed out cold. Aza sighed to herself as her boyfriend lost consciousness. Well, I kind of expected that, she said in resignation before looking over her shoulder, towards the tree line. I hope you're okay, little kitten. Kaneko said nothing as she remained frozen against the trunk of the tree, her pupils dilated and hands covering her mouth so hard that her nails cut her own cheek. She didn't even register the words, her mind reduced to a more primordial state of self-preservation. She only understood the notion that this entity was aware of her presence. She could only hope it deemed her too insignificant to crush and simply be on its way if she remained silent. Such a shame. Well, I hope your sanity puts itself back together before your owner comes looking for you, Aza stated offhandedly, leaning down to pick Issei up and heft him over her shoulder, without the slightest bit of trouble on her part. Funny, I guess I'll be walking you home instead, Aza whispered to herself in amusement before heading off, her footsteps echoing throughout the park. Kaneko counted the steps, trying to ground herself in the safety of knowing that the beyond apex predator was leaving. 19, 20, 21, 22, her breath steadied as she removed her bloody claws from her face. 23, 24, 25, 26, she tried to remember who she was and why she ever came here. 27, 28, 29, 30. Little kitten. Kitten. Kaneko. Right, Kaneko. Catgirl turned devil. Right. 31, 67, 57, 73. Elsewhere, Aza reappeared inside Issei's room, gingerly laying his unconscious form on the bed. You know, I'm almost positive this is Yog's fault, our date getting interrupted like that. Then again, that one fallen reminds me more of Nyrely, and she was after something you have, Aza murmured, pouting to herself in annoyance before sighing deeply. Oh well, at least it was a nice date. She hummed as she felt Issei's parents within the house. She waved her hand, as if batting away an insect, as she casually rewrote a tiny bit of their memories, making them think they had seen Issei arrive back home and go to bed. That should keep them from being interrupted. She winced as she saw her human hand warp into a mess that was between a crab claw and a gnarled tree branch of fleshy wood. She shook the eldritch appendage a few times before it reverted back into a normal human hand. Dealing with those four like that. I need to be more careful about using my powers while getting used to this tiny form, she mused as she ran a hand through her hair. Okay Aza, you're the great dreamer of reality, stop being so nervous again. You got this, Azathoth reminded herself as she put on a confident expression. With a deep breath, she turned to look at Issei. She came to a stop as she saw him sleeping peacefully in the moonlight, enraptured by the soft rise and fall of his chest, the glimmer of his bright and boundless soul, the echoes of his perverse enthusiasm, the dragon sleeping in his hand. Wait, what? She stopped in surprise. Crouching by his bed, Aza stared over the edge at his left hand. Her gaze went through and within it to perceive that, lo and behold, there was indeed the spirit of a dragon in Issei's hand. The spawns from Glyuho have wandered far indeed, she murmured curiously, carefully raising a hand up. What do humans say when they do this? Oh, right, boop, she recalled before bringing it down to tap the hand. A great light filled the room, emanating from Issei's hand, as a red gauntlet formed around it with a green jewel. She waited for 10 long seconds before growing confused. Hello, she called, testing to see if the spirit was even self-aware. For a long moment, there was no sound. Zzzzzzzzzzzzzzz. Aza raised an eyebrow as snoring filled the room. Good thing Issei won't wake up for a few more hours. Now, how would Nyrely say this, she wondered aloud before clearing her throat to take up a more authoritative tone. Wake up you scaly flamethrower. What? Who dares to insu dash? The deep voice of the dragon called out in annoyance, before his spiritual gaze landed upon Azathoth. There was a long, pregnant silence as the spirit looked between Aza and his slumbering wielder repeatedly. This is new for me, the dragon stated awkwardly. I believe this is the first time I have been forcibly awakened by an outside force. Hello, Aza greeted politely. Who are you and why are you in Issei's hand? You don't know, the voice asked in surprise. Should I? Aza asked with a head tilt. So, you weren't sent by Yidra or that insufferable pharaoh, he inquired in surprise. Wait, are you Shub-Niggurath? Because I am not taking responsibility for those goats Albion killed. Wow. Don't worry, I'm not her. Aza assured quickly, before looking a little delighted. But you know about us Eldritch? I have fought more than a few pure dragons that came into being on Glyuho. They always seemed rather uncomprehending that a dragon formed on a world such as this could best them, the dragon stated in amusement. I am one of the 2 heavenly dragons, the Red Dragon Emperor, and the Dragon of Domination, Draig. As for why I am here? Tell me, are you familiar with the entity that called itself God on this world? Vaguely. Never met him myself, Aza answered with a shrug. Let's just say he had a thing for making these sacred gears that pass on to the souls of humans when they are born, Draig explained, humming briefly. So, if not me, what is your interest in my wielder? I'm in love with him, Aza answered bluntly with a happy smile. Well, I didn't see that coming, Draig stated in disbelief, even as a laugh built in his throat. I know my wielders are often surrounded by lovers of all kinds of power, but I think you're the first being of such power to notice my wielder even before he awoke my power. I don't really care about that, no offense, Aza answered with a shrug. I just want Issei to be happy. Preferably with me, but... She trailed off solemnly, her eyes glancing away. He doesn't know, Draig deduced knowingly. I suppose I probably won't remember any of this if he rejects you. Probably? I don't know. Sorry, I'm a bit new to handling things on this small a scale, Aza answered sheepishly. Drake swallowed his hurt pride at being called small, if only indirectly. The boy will be awakening soon if we keep talking. Awakening me boosted his recovery, pun intended. I shall leave you both as much privacy as one in my state can give. It was pleasant to meet you? Ah, how rude of me. I'm Azathoth, but just call me Aza please, she requested kindly. Holy shit, I am so screwed, Drake whispered in horrified realization. You say something? Aza asked curiously. And no, nothing. I'll just be going. Pleasure to meet you. Drake called out before his boosted gear suddenly vanished. Azathoth scratched her cheek awkwardly. Maybe I should have used my Akamoth alias instead, she wondered before looking back at Issei. She smiled, crawling up on the bed. She wouldn't force his decision, but she could at least brace his mind with some minor eldritch immunity, like she planned to do at the end of the date. It had nothing to do with wanting to give him a kiss. Issei was accustomed to weird dreams. He was a pervert of culture. He could handle having a more eccentric wet dream, like fucking a hyper-realistic gynoid while they rode through space on an asteroid, or a girl with bird wings for arms stuck in a birdcage that allowed her lower end to stick out like it was for free use, or even just getting head from a voluptuous girl made of plants. That said, making out with a seemingly ordinary girl as she straddled him on a rock floating in an abyss over a giant maw of tentacles made out of mouths was a strange one even for him. But it was a very cute girl. She squealed as he suddenly flipped them, his lips hungrily finding hers as he kneaded her breasts. She groaned, eyes fluttering and glazing, a lovely moan parting her lips. Issei. Her voice was all present, seeping into every edge of eternity, carrying her desire for him with it. Aza, the name came naturally to him, even if he couldn't place it just yet. But his voice wasn't like he remembered. It was a growl of gurgling power, of lustful dominance made manifest as his free hand traced up her thighs, then her ass as his fingers buried themselves in the pleasant plushness of them. Oh by my throne, don't stop. Aza's begged, panting as his mouth trailed down her neck, her shirt vanishing before his very eyes to bare her chest to him and his ravenous, elongating tongue. Holy fuck. Issei lurched back, his hand reaching to feel his tongue. To his confused relief, it was normal in size and shape. He blinked as he realized he was now in his room, on his bed, and looming over a girl on his bed. Shit, that wasn't a dream, he realized as Aza panted deeply, her legs either side of him. Wait, Aza? How did never mind? I didn't hurt you, did I? He asked in concern. I said don't stop, didn't I? Aza retorted with a weak smile as she pulled herself up, her blush ever present. Sorry, just, wow, I'm actually glad I woke up though. I do not want my first time happening in my sleep, thank you very much, Issei said as he clutched his head. Aza? Yes, Issei, she asked with a small, expecting sigh. How much of what I remember actually happened, he asked with growing unease. Up to the point where I vanished those feathered gnats to the abyss and told you my real name, Aza answered honestly. Huh, so I didn't spank you over my knees before we started making out? Issei asked with a smirk. Yes, wait, what? Aza asked in surprise, her head shooting up to meet his gaze. No, that didn't happen? Shame, you seemed so cute clutching a red behind, Issei joked, burying his head in his hand with an unsettlingly hollow chuckle. Sorry, just a little, lost here. Understandable, Aza answered with a wince. I'll try to explain, but, what do you want to know first? Issei didn't say anything for a moment, looking up to the ceiling with a thoughtful expression before facing her once more. Okay, just for some form of context as to what the fuck is going on? Who just tried to kill me and why? You want the short answer? Aza inquired, getting a nod. The easiest thing to say is that all myths and gods, more or less, are real. Along with several that the humans missed. That black-haired wench and her friends, to my knowledge, are called fallen angels, who are in a three-way war between themselves, angels, and devils. Or, they were. I don't know what the status quo is exactly on this world, Aza answered with a shrug. All of them? Damn it, why didn't I ever try summoning a succubus, Issei muttered, taking a breath to calm his nerves. Okay, I can buy that. Got no choice after that event. But, why were they trying to kill me? What are they, anti-perv angels? 'Cause that head bitch was like something out of a dominatrix hentai. Aza giggled at Issei's complaint as she shook her head. No. This is actually something I only found out while you were passed out. You have something called a sacred gear, I believe is the term, a rare item bound to your soul that a rare select number of humans come to possess. I honestly don't know anything about them or why they'd kill over them, but that seems to be the reason. Right, magic item in my soul, got it, Issei accepted, trying to shake off how overwhelmed he was. That just raises the question of, and I don't want to hurt your feelings, but what the fuck are you, Aza? Issei couldn't help asking. Aza winced but could feel Issei's soul radiating his true feeling. He wasn't angry or disgusted, he was overwhelmed, confused, and a bit scared as a result. That is complicated. How much do you know about Lovecraft? The Cthulhu mythos, she asked timidly. Not much? Issei answered with a shrug. I'm not saying I hate tentacles, but I'm not the biggest fan of that stuff. Aza gained a small smirk. What if you could be the tentacles? She retorted playfully. Issei paused and paused some more. I'm a little weirded out that I'm considering that notion at all, he remarked. I know the basics. Things, basically gods, that are so otherworldly they make people go insane just by being around them, Issei summarized. Not entirely untrue, I suppose, Aza accepted with a murmur before clearing her throat. The more famous gods you know are gods of, well, this world. Eldritch are essentially gods from beyond. And your Azathoth, Issei remembered, getting a nod. Is that supposed to be important or something? Aza looked at him in surprise before smiling. Issei couldn't help being enthralled by that beautiful, pure smile that he instinctively knew was only for him. Thank you. For what? Issei asked, looking around in confusion. For being you, Aza answered with a happy sigh. Look, you're welcome, Aza, but I also know crazy cults go along with this theme. I'm not getting sacrificed, right? Issei asked in concern. If anything, it's kind of the opposite, she answered playfully before giving him a serious look. I'm Azathoth the Demon Sultana, the Queen of the Eldritch and the General Ruler of the Universe. There was a long, long silence. For an Eldritch, it should be no time at all, but it was the longest few minutes Aza ever had to endure through in the entire history of everything, as Issei stared at her long and hard. Well? Aza prompted nervously. Sorry, just, confused again. So that, no offense, but that thing I saw was your true form? Issei asked cautiously. Well, currently at least, Aza confirmed with a shrug, watching his reactions carefully. Sorry, I didn't mean for you to see that yet. I'm not used to trying this human form thing. So how do I fit into this for you then? Why, go on a date with me. Did you need this sacred gear thing? Issei asked with a raised eyebrow. No, Aza answered with a wince as she looked at him with deep eyes. I told you, Issei, I love you. Issei stared at her skeptically. Aza, I don't want to say that's bullshit, but we just met? Oh. Aza sighed and gripped her head in frustration. Issei was surprised but felt an odd lack of disgust when some of Aza's head deformed to expose a mass of tentacles beneath her hair, before she pulled back and allowed her body to fix itself. Sorry, I'm just not sure how to explain this. I do love you, Issei. I really do. Okay, if you can't tell me how, can you tell me why? Issei offered curiously. Aza perked up with a smile. Where do I begin? You have a glimmering soul that radiates a perverse purity of love and kindness, that never falters no matter how much you doubt you'll ever fulfill your dreams. Your lust craves to give and receive both carnal and emotional affection. You were a wonderfully considerate and fun person for a first date, and, well, she paused to smirk, licking her lips. You're a natural with your hands and mouth. Issei stared with an open jaw, which Aza shyly yet playfully closed with one finger under his chin. Oh okay, now just explain how you know that? This you can see my soul type thing, he asked, flattered yet bewildered. Yes, actually, pretty much, Aza confirmed with a nod. I've been in love with you for a long time. I wasn't going to do it now, to be honest. But you were depressed, and those fallen were trying to kill you. It seemed like a good time to at least start easing you into it. I just didn't scare them away enough, Aza said with a sigh. I'm sorry about that, I really am. Issei blinked slowly. At what point of this conversation did you think you had something to apologize for? Putting you in danger and nearly giving you some temporary insanity from my eldritch form? Aza reminded, her mood uplifting at the implications. You saved my life. And my sanity can afford to take a few hits, Issei retorted with a cheeky smile. I'm just, trying to wrap my head around this. I had a few fantasies about getting with a princess, but I apparently jumped up straight to God Queen, Issei mused. So it doesn't bother you that I'm a horrific god from beyond reality? Aza asked hopefully. That you are one? No. You're a cute girl that's in love with me. Does it bother me that this all exists? A little bit, but I think that'll naturally fade, Issei assured with a sigh. So, what now? Aza's smile dimmed again. Well, you see, Issei, I had an offer for you, Aza answered, rubbing her hands together. Would you like to forget me? Issei stared for a moment. Why the fuck would I want to do that? Issei asked in confusion. Aza took a deep breath. Issei, it's just that, why is this hard to say? Aza cried out in frustration. Look, Issei? I love you. I'll say that again as many times as I have to, I love you. And the second thing I want most in all of everything is to have you by my side for eternity, but the thing I want first and foremost is you to be happy, she said, her voice getting softer with every word. Even if it's without me. Aza. Issei whispered in shock as he stared into the eyes of a girl that unconditionally and unwaveringly loved him. Him of all people. So, this is the choice, you can join me, marry me, and become an eldritch god, or you can forget me, but I will bless your life so you have a long and happy life, and probably get that loving harem you dreamed of, Aza offered, taking a deep breath. I'm not sure how to put this in words properly. I don't know if your language has the words for what I want to say. I will be happy, Issei, if you say no, but only because I know you will be happy one day without me. Issei was finding that long silences were becoming a habit between him and Aza. He wondered if they'd remain after all the shocks and revelations wore off. Aza. I need some more answers first, Issei said slowly. Your harem will be all beautiful women, maybe a fuda or two if you're not completely against that, your soul will not be cursed in any lifetime for rejecting me, and the others of the eldritch community will never come after you for any reason regarding me, Aza lifted off effortlessly. While not what I meant, I'm glad to hear that, Issei answered in amusement. But about becoming like you? Does that mean I'll have to leave Earth? Huh? Oh no. No, Aza said with a laugh in her voice. Issei, it will take you a long time to fully transform into an eldritch god, no matter how powerful you become. You'd need some help from another eldritch or one of similar power to cross to realms beyond Earth's immediate cosmology. But I'd be sure to have you perfectly protected, just in case. Phew, was worried this was a leave everything behind type of deal. My parents aren't always great, but they're my family, Issei said with a cheesy smile, enamoring Aza all over again. So, this eldritch thing. How much say do I have in whatever mess I'll turn into, and how long will it take me to get a human form? Actually, better question, how long until I lose this one? Issei asked warily. I kind of want to get some more use out of this, thank you. Let's just say that you'd normally be worrying about old age by the time that is an issue. As for how long it'll take to get a new one, I don't know. It took me over a decade just to fit into mine, but it wouldn't take you that long. It largely depends on how powerful you end up becoming. And, you can just remake your old body, Aza supplied, looking hopeful. So, does this mean? I know what I'm going to say either way, but what is the eldritch stance on harems? Issei asked with a hopeful grin. There isn't one, not really, Aza answered before smirking. But while you're the only soul I'll ever love, I have absolutely no objection to you finding more lovers. Actually, I encourage it. You do? Issei asked in surprise. Ruler of the universe, Aza reminded with a half-hearted shrug. Besides, like I said, I'm not used to this human form. Even if I wanted to, I can't stay on Earth all the time. Okay, at what point would I say no to this? Issei asked with a head shake. Aza, I don't have this soul vision thing you do, but between everything you've said and done for me, I have more than enough reasons to think I can fall in love with you. So, does that mean you dash? Aza started, only to be silenced by Issei leaning to kiss her. It was less lustful, less hungry than his dream, but it was passionate at least. Until Issei nearly coughed in surprise as Aza grabbed his head roughly, pulling him into a deeper kiss as he felt something surge into his very being before pulling back in shock. Okay, what was that? He asked in confusion. My wedding present. My dowry? Let's call it a dowry, Aza answered cheekily. I've started your ascension process. Which comes with the perk of making you immune to insanity. Fair warning, you're going to know an eldritch on sight and get some minor headaches initially, but that'll fade. Good to know, Issei accepted in amusement, blinking as he found her laying her head against his chest and snuggling into him. Aza? Just shut up for a moment, I want to enjoy this, Aza requested, her voice trembling happily as she felt the distinct pulse of Issei's soul accepting the initial phase of becoming eldritch. My beloved, at last, she whispered, her eyes tearing as she held him. Issei stared at her before shaking his head. He had gotten up for a date today and ended up marrying the queen of the universe. Needless to say, he was not prepared for this, but he wasn't about to look a gift horse in the mouth. This time at least. Issei froze, his eyes trailed over to his computer desk to see a woman sitting there. A long raven-haired beautiful woman wearing what appeared to be a naval uniform, smiling at them playfully. Hello, loverboy. Yog. Could you not given me 5 more minutes? Aza cried out in annoyance, all but leaping from Issei's chest to glare at the newcomer. Issei himself merely winced, trying to shake the eldritch image out of his head as he watched the exchange play out, of great spheres of flesh with shared tendrils moving in and out of them paradoxically. Of course I could have. I could have given you all the more minutes, Aza, Yog answered animatedly with a large, teasing smile. But it turns out more fun if I don't. You vexing dash. Do humans have a word for this? Issei, is cunt blocking a thing? Aza asked, looking to Issei for support. Issei blinked as he rallied his mind to answer that question. Well, yeah, I guess, he answered before the implication finally hit him. Wait, we were about to fuck? Okay. Who the hell are you and why are you cock-blocking me? Issei demanded, sharing and mirroring Aza's own ire now. See. This is more fun. For me at least, Yog said with a giggle, balancing her blade between her fingers. Allow me to get the formalities out of the way. I am Yog-Sothoth, the guardian of the gate, the key to the gate, and the gate itself. The all-in-one and one-in-all, she supplied with a knowing smile as Aza interrupted. She's the outer god of time, to summarize, Aza summarized in resignation. And before you ask about my outfit, I just came from fixing some issues in an alternate timeline where your lovely country was one of the good guys in World War II, Yog explained playfully before holding up her blade. And I just like turning my powers into a sword, sue me. Okay, well, that explains a few things, Issei stated, obviously still confused, but rolling with it as best he could. She's very eccentric, even among us, Aza stated flatly. Fun is what you mean, oh demon sultana, Yog retorted smugly. Okay, Miss Time Lady? Issei spoke up with an twitching eyebrow. That still doesn't answer one question, why are you blocking us? Instantly back to yelling at a time goddess? Oh, this is a good one. Yog stated happily, ignoring the ire. And to answer your next question, no, I don't know everything that is going to happen, just what can. You have a particularly lively amount of differing paths around you. Do any of those paths still lead back to me losing my V card? Issei returned with an eye twitch. Because after today, the only thing I want to do is either sleep with my girlfriend or literally just sleep with my girlfriend. Aza beamed a bit, obviously enjoying either plan before turning serious. Okay Yog, spit it out. Why are you here? A lady can't congratulate her queen on finding a king? Yog asked playfully, before smirking at Issei. I just wanted to take some burden off of Aza here and explain things in what I know to be the best way you'll understand. Oh. Thanks then? Issei gave with a cautious look about him, looking to Aza for clarification. She gave him a tired smile. You can trust Yog, Issei, she assured, the time god beaming in pride for a moment. Mostly. You wound me, Aza, Yog said, feigning hurt, before returning to her smile. Well, in order to both streamline and ease you into the eldritchification, which, no, is not a word yet, I'm just going to be showing up occasionally to inform you of some choices you'll have to make in the near future. Choices? Issei repeated curiously. About what? Why, what you're going to turn into of course. Yog stated, rubbing her gloved hands together in excitement. Unless you completely leave it random, which I don't think you should do, you actually have a large amount of control over not only your future form, but your powers as well, Aza informed, leaning against his arm to enjoy the closeness. Oh, and there are so many options. But I understand you're tired and overwhelmed, so I won't go too far down the rabbit hole. But, Aza, you know he at least needs to decide what rank of Eldritch he's going to be very soon, or he won't have a choice in the matter, Yog warned with some scolding. I wasn't going to put it off that long. Aza retorted in annoyance. Rank? Issei repeated curiously as he looked between them. Aza sighed. Eldritch gods come in 3 general types. Elder gods are the weakest, but most able to connect with mortals, while outer gods like Yog and me are the strongest yet most unwieldy at first. Great old ones are the middle ground between the two. Well, there's a bit more to it than that, but basically yes, Yog admitted with a shrug. The main concern for you might be that human form comes more easily to elder gods while it takes much longer for great old ones and especially outer gods to get a tentacle on that. Well, unless they're me, as I spent one day mastering it for 1,000,000 years, Yog answered in amusement. Issei stared for a moment. Is she always like this? Issei asked idly. Yes, she is, Aza answered with a sage nod. So basically, I have decided how powerful I want to become, Issei summarized with a sigh. Look, thanks for the update, Yog. But I know. You don't really care right now when you have an Aza that needs spooning, Yog answered with a smile. I just wanted to put it in your mind for now. Even if you don't make up your mind right away, Aza will at least be getting you on the ball about deciding what your eldritch form will be like. Okay, I have to ask now, are tentacles really that big of a thing with the, eldritch? Issei asked, saying the word for the first time. It was strange to think about, but love leads to weird situations, he supposed. Oh yes, we all have them. You can hide them if you don't want them to be a main part of your image, but I get the feeling you, pervert of Azathoth, will one day enjoy getting your slimy appendages all over some voluptuous cultist offering herself up to you, Yog said with a purr, Issei staring with wide eyes even as Aza smiled knowingly. Have fun with that, she called, twirling her blade before slashing at the air to make a swirling vortex of a portal, waving as she stepped through and the portal vanished. Cultist? Issei repeated slowly, almost not sure how to feel about that yet. Well, you are my beloved, Aza pointed out with a small smile. Eventually, you'll have people invoking your name and praying to you. This is a lot to take in, Issei said with a deep breath, feeling Aza wrap her arms around him from behind, resting her chin on his shoulder. Then come to bed. Rest. And if you're up for it, I'm still more than willing to help you relieve some stress, Aza promised in a tempting voice, before slinking away from him. Issei turned, looking as she laid on his bed, her eyes flashing between wholesome and less than wholesome intents, waiting for him to join her. He was at least dating and possibly already married to a tentacle goddess from between time and space. Were they engaged? What counted for what here? It didn't really matter at the moment, he knew. He should be wary, probably even scared out of his mind, but Aza had saved him, and bore her heart out to him, and offered him everything he ever wanted and more if he didn't want to be with her. He was a pervert, not an asshole. Taking that much from someone like her without giving something back just seemed wrong. And right now, it seemed like a very right idea to lay down, pull her close, and go to sleep. So that's what he did. With his only stray thoughts being to curse Yog for cockblocking him. But while he drifted off to sleep, someone else could not find peace so easily. Fuck. Drake thought in panic. It couldn't have been Ydra, no, it had to be Azathoth, it just had to be. I am so beyond doomed. Do you have to be so noisy? Drake's spirit went completely still at the tired, annoyed voice as he turned to see Azathoth in the sacred gear with him. Mercifully, it was her human form, but still. Sorry, your eldritch majesty, I didn't know you could hear me. Please forgive me. Drake pleaded, hating how pathetic he felt but even more so didn't care as he valued his existence. Aza tilted her head sleepily at Drake, looking mildly annoyed. Drake, I think there's been some misunderstanding. You are not, as you said, doomed. Drake paused, slowly ceasing his groveling as he rose up to stare at Aza with utmost caution. I'm not? So my soul isn't going to be devoured when he ascends? Or my mind flayed when you and him get around to fucking? Or No, Aza cut off pointedly. Drake, while I honestly had no idea you even existed until tonight, I am actually happy you are here. Seriously? Drake asked, skeptical but hopeful. Seriously. I am more than a little overprotective of Issei. So having you around is one more safety net, and one that's inbuilt, Aza assured, yawning for a moment. Beside, I don't know why you're worried about your sanity. What do you mean? Drake asked in confused. Aza deadpanned. Drake. You're a dragon. And unless a new source of them have appeared, all dragons are technically a subcategory of eldritch, Aza informed flatly. Meaning, you're immune to any sanity issues, even from me. Oh. Well, I feel relieved, if not embarrassed, Drake said awkwardly. So, I guard your consort, or whatever title he gets, and then what? Because I'm going to assume the boy will outgrow my own power eventually. Most likely. Even if he doesn't, I don't think you both will want to stick together forever. So I'll just make you a new body when we get to that point, Aza stated causally. Drake paused at that. I'm sorry, what? I said I'll make you a new body. Or get someone to make one for you, either or, Ozza repeated with a shrug. Why, is that a problem? And no. That's great, and gracious, and wonderful. Drake assured quickly. I just never thought I'd be getting one again, he finished somberly. Ozza paused, eyes focusing on him intently. You're powerful, but you don't have eternality. So you wouldn't reform even if this vessel was destroyed. Drake nodded slowly as the shock began to fade away. This is real? I get a body, just like my own? This isn't some bull where I get out and I'm gender flipped into some kind of draconic sex pet for your consort? What? Why would I do that? It's easier just to give him one we already have, Ozza said with a headshake. Yes, Drake, this is real. You help me take care of my kungur, I help you. Drake stared before smirking, folding his wings in front to imitate a bowing gesture. It would be my pleasure, Queen of the Eldritch. Good. Now, what were you saying about chubby scoats earlier? Meanwhile, Kaneko groaned as she awoke. Her head throbbed, her lips and mouth felt dry and rough, and her magic felt like it was burning just from keeping her ears, tail, and wings hidden away. In essence, her entire being was in agony, as if she had been ripped apart and stitched back together. Was anything missing? It was an odd question to ask herself, but she focused on the pain to check. Pain was good, if only because it meant that whatever was hurting was still there. Her fingers were all there, and she was fairly sure her toes were accounted for. And as she begrudgingly moved her limbs, she determined that her arms and legs were whole if sore. She couldn't feel any intense pain or wetness she would assume came with any part of her torso being destroyed. Her head was a given. It was there, right? Yes, it had to be. She could feel her cat ears wanting to poke out. But her hands drifted up, feeling the skull just to make sure it was all there. Mercifully, it was. She would have sighed in relief if it didn't feel like shredding glass through her lungs. Kaneko. You're awake. Her head pounded in protest, looking over at the blonde, bipedal creature. Kiba. His name was Kiba. The president was worried. We found you passed out in front of the clubhouse, Kiba stated as he knelt down next to her in concern. Do you need anything? Kaneko wasn't sure what she really needed, but knew that Kiba wouldn't be able to give it back. Or fix it. Whatever it was gone or broken. Or both. Still, there was something else. Water, she rasped out. Kiba nodded and turned to leave to collect the requested liquid. Kaneko felt herself becoming more acclimated and aware. She was in the clubhouse, on one of the couches. She was home, she was safe. Her eyes drank in the familiar setting that she felt she was appreciating for the first time, the soft lights of the candles, the rich color of the wooden walls, the tentacle reaching over the top of the couch toe. Kaneko instantly shot up, a splintering death grip on the couch as she searched wildly for the tentacle and its source. But she found nothing, which did little to ease the blood pounding through her veins. Her eyes slowly, reluctantly calmed down as she looked downward to see if what she saw had been real, if it touched her. She swallowed numbly as she found just one piece of evidence on her person. Not a drip of slime or a rip in her clothing, but a piece of notebook paper sticking out of the corset of her uniform. With shaking hands, she reached forth to pull it out. The folded parchment weighed far too heavy in her hand for its lack of content. Still, with dreadful curiosity, she unfolded the paper and began to read. Chiron. How did they know that name? The question echoed in her mind with growing fear in her heart. Was her sister somehow involved in this? If so, that was worrisome. If not, that raised more questions. Chiron. I hope you're feeling better. I fixed you up the best I could for now. The existential horror and hallucinations will fade away by the end of the month. Tell your master to watch who she lets her pets wander around. Madame Yi. PS, nang suna uftt nake suya unsua la CRU, kungur. Kaneko almost vomited. She could suddenly feel the phantom sensations of tendrils over her face and neck, immaculate fingernails drifting across her mind with otherworldly grace, the tips melding broken mind back together. Her face paler than her hair, she placed the note on the table before burying her face into her hands. Who and what had wandered into their end of the supernatural without Rias or her brother knowing? Kaneko. Her dread was interrupted by Rias's voice, enveloping her in a hug. Kaneko returned it, more than she ever had before. Instinctively, she knew Rias could do little to protect her from whatever Ozza was. Emotionally, she didn't care. Rias and her presence meant safety, kindness, understanding, love, home. She needed that right now. And while she wasn't into girls, she had to admit that Rias's soft bosom helped with soothing her nerves. The softness, the warmth, the heartbeat that kept her steady in knowing that Rias was right here. Her eyes refocused as she realized Kiba was standing next to them, politely silent while holding a water bottle. Wordlessly, Kaneko pulled back from the embrace as she reached out to the swordsman. Kiba obliged, putting the bottle into her hand, which the Nico devil took no time in quickly drowning down her throat. She swore she could feel her body becoming hydrated again, like her skin was less tight against her body now. There was a patient silence as she did this, swallowing before staring listlessly at the floor. "Thank you." They knew it wasn't just for the water. "Kaneko, what happened? We couldn't find any injuries on you, but you looked like you went through hell," Rias asked in concern. Kaneko didn't answer at first, trying to recall herself. What was real? What was her broken recollection? The fallen angel came back, with friends. 3 of them. They wanted to kill the perv. Kill him? Kiba repeated in confusion. "I suppose eliminating his sacred gear is a plan, but it seemed like they would try to recruit him or at least extract it first," Rias said in confusion. Sacred gears were rare. Having them as an enemy was bad, yes, but Issei was just a regular human with no awareness of the supernatural, as far as she and Sona knew at least. Still, while strange, the action of the fallen angels wasn't unbelievable. "They're gone now," Kaneko continued with great bluntness. "You mean they're dead? Or they ran away?" Rias asked in confusion. "No, I mean they're gone," Kaneko repeated, stuttering as she recalled the tendrils from realms unknown, power beyond power seeping from the depths they emerged. She shook her head, pulling herself back together before she fell apart completely. She was mad. The perv's date. She was mad, and she made sure they were gone. "I don't know where they are now or what happened to them. Just that they are gone. Vanished into the abyss." The air felt just a bit colder as Kaneko repeated those words. Rias stared long and hard at her brave, strong rook and knew that whatever she had witnessed was terrible. "Kaneko, what happened to you? What did she do to you?" Rias asked with a scowl. Kaneko almost smiled. Rias took, treating the peerage like family, things serious. It was obvious to any that knew her that the ruined princess was internally furious at the idea that some outsider had shown up and harmed her precious servant like this. "She didn't do anything to me, Rias," Kaneko answered honestly. Because if she didn't, Rias might do something they'd all regret. She was just so powerful. When she unleashed it, my mind I can't explain it, I was like my entire mind was overwhelmed and couldn't handle it. Rias's brow was furrowed while Kiba looked thoughtful, and worried as well. "I think she healed me. Or someone she knew did. Because I don't think I got back here on my own," Kaneko informed softly. Rias somehow looked more confused and worried than before, but discarded it. "I'm so sorry, Kaneko. I never should have sent you alone without knowing at least what we were dealing with," Rias apologized sincerely. Kaneko shook her head. As much as some deep, insane portion of her still fresh mental wounds would love to lash out and blame Rias, she wasn't about to do that. "We were keeping an eye on the fallen angel and what she was after. We had no way of knowing someone far worse was after the perv." Rias's apologetic eyes did not change even as she nodded to acknowledge Kaneko's point. "Can you remember anything else?" Kaneko nodded as she felt her throat go dry and squeeze tight before the syllables were even on her tongue. She took another drink of water before saying the only thing she was sure had to be completely real. Because it echoed in every corner of her mind. She said her name is Azathoth. Rias's expression was a treasure trove of shifting expression. The first was a lack of comprehension as she searched her memories for the meaning of the name. Then came the shock as recognition came in. Then came the paling as the dread set in. Then came the fear. The noble devil stood quickly, and regretted it instantly as she drew more worry in her direction. She looked conflicted for a moment, and Kaneko realized she was torn between soothing Kaneko more and rushing off to find a way to deal with this. "I have to contact my brother. He needs to know, if he doesn't already," she stated, forcing her voice to remain calm. They both watched her leave before Kiba looked to Kaneko with a lack of comprehension. "Who is Azathoth?" he asked with a furrowed brow. Kaneko felt her soul wither, as if saying the name had drawn the attention of the entity in question. "I have no idea," she admitted. It wasn't a lie. She had no idea who this Azathoth was. Just that she was powerful. Perhaps even more than the superdevil Rias was off to contact. "Hey, Kaneko? Is this yours?" Kiba asked, picking the note off the table to examine it. Kaneko contained her reaction very well as she stared at the blank piece of paper. She could feel something in her scream, cry out, and curl into a corner to hide. Outward, she just shrugged her shoulders. She only prayed the letter wasn't lying, about this only lasting a month. She wasn't sure she could live like this otherwise. Sona and Rias sat in a very, almost physically uncomfortable silence as Rias sat across from Sona's desk. It was an interesting dynamic of their relationship. While they both saw one another as equals, Sona often came to Rias if there was a matter that needed to be discussed. For no other reason than for Sona to stretch her legs, as even she needed a break from her duties as student president, on top of being the heiress to a noble devil family and managing her peerage. So when Rias came to her, it was usually a very serious, urgent matter. Azathoth, Sona repeatet slowly. The Queen of the Eldritch is here. In this very city. And was at this academy. Do I have that right? Rias nodded curtly. Trust me, I am as baffled as you are, but Kaneko confirmed it. And no, she doesn't know who or even what Azathoth is. Of course she doesn't, Sona remarked, massaging the bridge of her nose. We were only taught about her as a formality, not because we expected her to come to this world. What did Lord Lucifer say? Rias shook her head. He's alarmed and was tempted to summon me home, which I believe translates to him considering ordering a lockdown on all of the underworld, Rias remarked, absently biting her thumb. Be prepared for your sister's reaction. I am already planning my escape routes, Sona answered in complete seriousness. What I can't possibly grasp is you claiming she was on a date with one of the 3 perverts of Kuo. The fallen angels were after him too, Rias reminded before scowling. But that makes even less sense in a way. Even if his sacred gear is a Longinus, that would only give him the potential to tussle with most great old ones. Enticing enough for the fallen to look into, but the demon Sultana? Are we 100% sure there's nothing else interesting about issei Hayadu? Sona opened her mouth before stopping. There might be one thing, she stated hesitantly, getting a raised eyebrow. I did a background check after you started taking an interest in him, just in case there were any surprises. There was one tiny detail I recall, if only because of the nature of it. Well, don't keep me in suspense, Sona, Rias prompted curiously. The medical histories on Issei's parents revealed that there were 2 more pregnancies before Issei, but both were stillborn, Sona commented with an odd look in her eye. While tragic, that's not too surp. Rias stopped as the thought shot through her like lightning. Sona, are you implying that issei Hayadu might be the spawn of another eldritch? I'm saying it's possible, Sona answered tersely. If not, we have to face the very unusual idea that an outer god took an interest in, sacred gear or not, and fairly ordinary and perverted human. I guess the only thing we can do now is properly inform our peerages and try to avoid drawing her attention or ire, Rias decided, looking troubled and worried. Kaneko got a first-hand experience of being too close to a being like Azathoth. Devils and other races are more resistant to the mental instability the Eldritch can cause, but Kaneko was, I've never seen her this paranoid or on edge before, Sona. Rias, it wasn't your fault, Sona stated, more factually than comfortingly. Which was comforting in its own way, as Rias knew it meant Sona truly believed it. This is the equivalent of your brother suddenly showing up in front of a rank-and-file scout from any other faction, really. Extremely unlikely and likely to have some side effects on their peace of mind. Rias smiled a bit, just for a moment, before her concern returned without the guilt. You think she'll be okay? So long as she doesn't start babbling nonsensical ramblings while scribbling arcane runes, Sona stated before pausing. She hasn't, right? No, just muttering about tentacles, but, you know, Eldritch, Rias said with a shrug. Sona shut her eyes with an almost painful force. Wonderful, now I'm imagining one of the pervert trio with tentacles, she grimaced before taking a deep breath. Speaking of which, are you sure that issei Hayadu is even sane after that encounter? Rias raised an eyebrow at Sona for that. Sona, I wasn't about to check myself and I certainly wasn't going to risk more of my peerage being exposed to Eldritch-induced madness. Valid. I suppose we'll have to keep an eye out. They were both rather surprised when Tsubaki suddenly entered the room without knocking, an almost annoyed look on her face. Lady Rias, one of your peerage is very insistent on speaking with you, right? And she started to explain, grunting as Kaneko rather forcefully moved her aside and walked in. A very, very pale Kaneko. Kaneko? What's wrong? Rias asked, furrowing a brow at the catgirl. Rias, they're here, Kaneko stated with a deceptively calm voice. They? Rias repeated. One had to be Azathoth, of course, but did she also mean? As in Azathoth and Issei? Kaneko nodded as Sona tilted her head. Can you sense them? Sona asked, knowing that being exposed to eldritch often made humans more attuned to noticing them. It wouldn't be unexpected for it to have a similar effect on supernatural, non-eldritch races. No, I mean they're walking into the school, right now, Kaneko corrected flatly. Both devil heiresses were instantly out of their chairs with wide eyes. Meanwhile, oh my god. Who is that with the perv? Doesn't she know who he is? And she's so cute too. How did he ever trick her into coming to school with him? Issei had entered the school grounds with a rather smug grin as the mostly female population of the school took more and more notice of him, one of the infamous perverts, practically strutting in with a cute girl smiling while handing on his arm. But said grin turned increasingly nervous as they went. Not because of the comments he could hear them muttering about him, he was used to that. No, his unease was because he could feel Aza growing tense, her smile becoming ever more forced and plastered on, and he could somehow kind of tell the tentacles from beyond reality were getting really twitchy and sanity-killy. Despite the fact he couldn't actually see said tentacles that were getting really too close to the veil protecting these rather insulting and blissfully ignorant bags of meat. And he promptly pushed away that literally inhuman thought. Just relax, Aza, he whispered with a hint of scolding mixed in with pleading. This is hardly the worst they've said about me. That doesn't help me, dear, Aza said in a pleasant tone despite clearly wanting to hiss the words out. I don't understand what the problem with these humans is. Should we be talking about them as humans when you're trying to fit in? Issei asked in concern. Oh, don't worry, I'm doing the same thing I did this morning to make sure your mother didn't notice me, Aza informed without worry. You mean that they see only what you want, reality illusion thing? Issei asked with a quirked brow. When do I get one of those? Oh, it might be a while, Aza answered, allowing herself to calm down despite the insignificant insults around her. Seriously, what is the problem with you being a pervert? Issei looked up with a lost expression. How did he explain this without feeling like he was shooting himself in the foot? Well, I peep on them, a lot, and they don't like boys seeing them naked without permission, he tried uncertainly. And they care why? It is not like you have ever touched them, Aza remarked with annoyed incomprehension. It's a human thing, Aza. I'm not sure how to explain it, Issei answered, scratching his head. Just don't hurt them, please? Relax, Issei. I'm not going to really be here that often, Aza waved off as they reached the school building proper. So, where's our first class, dear, she asked, pulling out a school schedule, one exactly the same as Issei's. Are you sure that won't cause any problems, just inserting your schoolgirl persona into reality on paper? Issei asked curiously. Oh please, I'm hardly the only one doing stuff like this, Aza assured with a rather cute snort, looking up to the second-floor rails across the room. Speak of the yith, there they are. Huh? Issei followed her vision to see three girls staring at them, the redhead beauty Rias, the student president Sona and the school mascot Kaneko. And the look in their eyes, those fearful looks made it very plain to him that they knew. They knew what Aza was. More people trying to kill me, he asked dryly. Not to my knowledge, no, Aza answered, smiling brightly as she waved to them. Issei was very aware that they paled and flinched away, the smallest of the three looking like she was ready to lose her lunch. They're devils. Similar to the fallen, but with a different kind of wings. They're actually enemies to the fallen angels and the regular angels. Wow, those three? I never would have guessed, Issei said in amazement. Are you trying to intimidate them? He asked curiously. No, not at all, Aza answered, tilting her head. Though, I'm not too sure how to not be intimidating? Most mortals react like this when they learn who I am, if they don't worship the eldritch already. Like a lion among puppies, Issei couldn't help making the comparison. Aza, you mind if I try something? He asked curiously. Sure, what dash? Aza stopped as Issei leaned down to kiss her on the cheek, prompting her to giggle in genuine delight. The trio of she-devils stared at the scene in incomprehension, even as Issei put an arm around Aza and pulled her close before they walked off. And they could sense the eldritch energy, undetectable to most humans, calming down under his affection. Issei sent one last grin in their direction, giving them a thumbs up. Is he bragging or trying to reassure us? Sona asked with an eye twitch. He might be bragging, but he definitely is trying to ease our nerves, Ria said with a long sigh as she leaned on the bar. This implies that he knows who and what she is. And still acts that way around her. And she lets him, maybe even wants him to. I'm not sure which part of this concerns me more. A perverted teenager like Issei Hayadu has some kind of influence over one of the greatest conceptual forces known we are aware of, Sona realized, looking up with a lost expression. So, that date they had wasn't a cover for her. Oh hells, she's actually dating him, Rias realized with a head shake, looking over at Sona to scrutinize her form. Well, you're still on the flat side. Sona turned to glare at her, Rias putting up her hands in surrender. I'm just kind of surprised he hasn't convinced her to increase the minimum bust size. Or did you forget he's obsessed with boobs specifically? Sona stared at Rias with growing concern behind her eyes. Don't add fuel to my worries. Also, your rook needs to go change her clothing. Rias blinked, rounding on Kaneko in worry, who blushed in shame as she tried to ignore the trail of urine down her legs. I'm sorry, Kaneko said softly, her whole body radiating embarrassment. Rias instant hugged her, albeit keeping their hips separated. It's all right, Kaneko. Go change, go to the clubhouse and call in sick, Rias instructed. Kaneko obeyed without protest or hesitation, walking off to some place private so she could disappear. It's safe to say that, what was that alias you mentioned? Azarabufuto? She will probably have a full document of paperwork and records that were processed, albeit with everyone not quite sure when they did it, Sona remarked with a frown. Usually, when a king moves, their court comes with them. Rias nodded grimly. That's what I'm worried about. Meanwhile, I'm Azarabufuto. It is a pleasure to meet you all. Please take care of me. Issei had to admit, it was a very convincing performance. He had made sure Aza knew what, as a new student, she was supposed to do. Even if he was pretty sure her reality illusion thing would take care of it for her, but in Aza's own words, I should learn more about being human if I'm going to be your girlfriend. And Aza was off to a great start. You lucky bastard, Murahama said, somewhere between jealous and congratulatory. Matsuda leaned back with an envious grin. You got a hottie and she's in the same class as us. Guys, you're my friends, but I will break your wanking hands if you touch her, Issei hissed, giving warning glares to both of them. The bespectacled and bald pair leaned away slightly at the threat, but didn't otherwise change their mood. Issei winced as Aza found a seat in the back, all of the girls giving her concerned and protective looks, while shooting Issei dirty, accusatory glares. How is it that suddenly he was the one protecting everyone? Oh, right, his girlfriend could accidentally mind-break humans and was getting annoyed with the insults aimed in his direction. Issei blinked as he got an idea, putting his hands together in a praying motion. Aza, please don't mind-flay them when they try to tell you all the reasons to break up with me, he mentally requested before turning his attention back to the class. Oh, Issei, Aza called in his mind, rather erotically. He blushed, trying to discreetly look back at Aza, who was now flushed and her breathing was a tad labored. If you want me to keep control of myself, don't intrude into my mind without warning. Issei blinked as he pointedly stared ahead, trying to calm his boner. He was 110% sure that control of herself meant nothing about injuring these defenseless minds and everything to do with picking up where they left off before Yog blocked them both. He didn't make the praying motion again, but hoped Aza could still hear him. Aza? What was that just now? He mentally asked, trying not to sound too excited, or he might not control his own self. When you accepted my offer last night, I increased your mental shielding, but also made a link? Tunnel? Aza tried thoughtfully, absently tilting her head before sending a psionic giggle. We can call it a glory hole? Yes I mean, do you even know what that is? Issei changed course, trying not to grin or snicker at that. Issei, I may not understand mortal norms, but I am well researched into every sexual act you have looked up, watched, read, and fantasized about, Aza informed factually. Issei blinked, and made a very astounding effort to not look embarrassed. I would be very ashamed if I wasn't sure you don't care about me looking up that stuff. Still, what is this? He asked curiously. Well, I don't know when your more active mental powers will come up, so I just made a link for us. It's a very private connection, Aza explained. And that made you horny? Issei questioned in confusion. Oh, just when you pray to me. It doesn't give me any energy like cultists do, but without my normal protection and with you right there, your mind basically slamming and prodding into my own without warning? Aza made a point to lick her lips and, despite not looking at her, Issei was very aware of the action. I will enjoy this, but later when you're not at risk of mind-raping every girl that insults me. Issei decided, trying to do the equivalent of mentally hanging up before his perversion went into overdrive. Issei, I won't mind-rape them. I have to actually enter their minds for that. They just crack when I let my true existence get too close, Aza pointed out casually. And I should be able to contain myself unless the insults turn to assault. Is the effect really that different? Issei asked with morbid curiosity. I'm not sure. I'll have to ask someone about that, Aza mused absently, and Issei could feel her properly hanging up on the conversation. Issei shook his head fondly. He was definitely not going peeping again anytime soon. Because then the girls would attack him. And Aza would do horrible things to wait. My parents are safe from the sanity issues, right? He called rather loudly, hoping she didn't tune him out. Oh yeah, Yog took care of that a week ago while we were on our date yesterday, Aza thought in reassurance before furrowing her brow. Or was it she will take care of it in 3 weeks when I asked you out the day before? Either way, they're safe. I am disturbed by how much I already understand that, Issei thought with a grimace. Don't worry, you'll get used to understanding non-Euclidean thought patterns and geometry long before you start having them yourself. Oh, by the way, did I forget to tell you about the dragon in your hand? Aza asked curiously. Well, I've never called it that myself, but wait, was that not a dick joke? Issei asked, realizing she might be literal and serious. Meanwhile, Zek, let me go, Seraphal stated in an unusually flat tone. No. She shuddered in rage and sisterly panic as the red-headed devil held her in a full Nelson. Zek, you will let me go in the next dash. No, I will not, he stated calmly, before glaring over at Ajuka. But his fellow super devil very calmly and pointedly didn't meet his gaze. Rhea. Seraphal all but roared, the floors and walls cracking and shuddering as she tried and failed to throw him off. I have to go get Sona. She's there, Azathoth is there. She's not strong enough to even survive if an outer god lets loose even a little. She's all alone and dash. She has her peerage, Ajuka corrected calmly. You know that doesn't help you, big dummy. Seraphal screamed, breaking many windows, pictures, and vases throughout the main government building of the devil's side of the underworld. You're not helping, Surzek said with a frown, Ajuka merely shrugging in apology. Sora? Sora? I need you to breathe, okay, he instructed soothingly, Seraphal taking very deep breaths, which started to freeze the wall she was facing, but he decided to ignore that for now. Sona is fine. If the Queen of the Eldritch wasn't containing her powers properly, all of Japan would currently be slitting their guts out and eating them. She hasn't attacked any devil's dash. Your sister's kitty dash. Seraphal objected. Was just too close when the fallen angels attacked Azathoth. And Kaneko is fine, Surzex promised, leaving out the mostly to that statement, lest Seraphal go back into a tailspin. There is no need to storm Kuo and snatch Sona away, lock her in the secret replica you have of her childhood room and hide there for the next century. Seraphal continued to take her calming breaths before she slacked against her fellow Satan's grip. I still want to make her come home, she stated with a pout. And that is your right as a Satan and her big sister. All I ask you do it in a calm, and not overly panicked manner, potentially destroying East Asia in the process. Or cause a new ice age, he stated placatingly. Zek, I've never done that, Seraphal complained, just a bit insulted. Have you ever been this upset for Sona's safety? He countered knowingly. The Leviathan Satan opened her mouth before closing it. True, she grumbled. Why is she there? Or anywhere near Earth, she asked in defeat. I don't know, Seraphal, but I promise we'll find out. But remember, please? You're one of the great Satans, specifically the one in charge of foreign affairs. It would be rather unseemly if you of all devils accidentally insulted the demon Sultana in a fit of sisterly concern, he reminded carefully. Seraphal paled. Sona would be so mad and disappointed in me, I can't take it when she's really disappointed in her big sister, she murmured. Surzex knew she was also considering the devastation and potential extinctions that could occur, but as a big brother, he understood that little siblings can spring to the mind first in the midst of such things. Especially when they were in the figurative splash zone of said calamity, to say nothing of them being at ground zero. Surzex carefully pushed that thought away before he joined Seraphal in panicking. Now, I'm going to let you go, we're going to go to our nice and undamaged meeting room and we're going to figure out what to do like rational adults. Okay? Okay, Seraphal answered with a demure nod. Surzex slowly, skeptically released his hold on her and was rewarded with her not running away at the first chance she got. Question? Ajuka spoke up with a raised eyebrow. How did you know about her little Sona room? Seraphal just gave him a withering look. Dummy. My friend, it is very obvious you don't have younger siblings, Surzex said with smile and a head shake of pity. Right, Ajuka acknowledged calmly, very used to his friend's sister complex, yet still amazed by it sometimes. Not to delay the room change, but have there been any attempts to contact Nodens or Yidra that I am unaware of? Yidra herself is ever hard to track down, but at least most of her cults are polite enough to accept inquiries from us on her behalf, which get to her eventually. Falbium is arranging the search for one, Surzex answered with a hum. And last anyone heard of Nodens, he was checking up on something in the Mediterranean. That's about the best we can do in terms of getting information from the more local Eldritch, Ajuka admitted before narrowing his eyes. There hasn't been any sighting of the crawling chaos, has there? Nothing definitive, not since the 1930s, Surzex admitted with a troubled scowl. But that said, the Black Pharaoh is the messenger of the outer gods, of Azathoth herself. If the queen is here, that one is sure to follow. Zek, if that happens, I am stealing Sona back and hiding her, Seraphal warned stubbornly. You won't have to. I'll pick her up for you when I grab Rias, Surzex assured bluntly as they left the room. Never seeing the smiling figure with bright eyes in the reflection of the ice. Class had gone surprisingly well. It was after the lessons that became an issue. Aza, you do know who Issei is, right? Aza tried, by her own throne, she tried to keep her annoyance at bay as she regarded the group of girls crowding around her desk. Yes, why, she asked, hoping she forced her human body to display purely and only curiosity and confusion. Everyone's been talking about how you walked into school with him. Some even say you kissed him, one of them pointed out, as if the very idea was disgusting. Aza suppressed her eyebrow twitch. Actually, he kissed me, she informed bluntly, somehow both loving and hating their shocked looks. Now, what is this about my boyfriend? Boyfriend? All of them yelled in disbelief. Aza was tempted to drop the smile, which was becoming forced already, but she noticed that Issei was getting some jealous looks from his own male friends. Was this a human thing? Was this a hazing thing the other Eldritch told her about? Aza, you have to be careful with a guy like Issei. Yeah, he's a total pervert. Just like the other two creeps, always talking about porn and hentai. And I care, why, exactly? Aza asked blandly. There was a confused, stunned silence at that, which was broken by Motohama muttering to Issei. You lucky bastard. Why would you want to go out with someone like him? One of the girls demanded in disbelief. You know he peeps on us all the time with his friends. And saying weird things like getting a harem? Aza took a deep breath, pinching her forehead. You're all very annoying, she murmured. Issei, beloved? Please save me from these slanderous dust mites before I break something. One of them leaned down, trying to keep Aza's attention. We're just trying to look out for you, Aza. I don't know what he told you. You're all a bunch of really nosy bitches, you know that? Everyone, without exception, turned to Issei Hayadu with varying amounts of disbelief as he stood near the group with an annoyed look. Where do you get off? In your mother, Kates, Issei interrupted flatly, glaring at the Pinkite who flinched back. To be honest, I'm just tired of waiting for you all to get done interrogating my girlfriend, he said bluntly before smiling at the Eldritch Queen. So, Aza, you enjoying your first day here? Oh, it's been great, until a few minutes ago, Aza said with a brilliant smile before scowling darkly. You didn't tell me you had such horrible classmates, Issei. Wait, us? The girls asked in disbelief. We were just trying to help you, one defended with a glare. All you've helped do is give me a headache, Aza answered, letting a deep breath go as she rose from her chair and collected her stuff. She was rather proud of herself, she hadn't broken anyone's mind yet. Issei, if you need me, I'll be getting some fresh air. Catch up with you soon, Aza, Issei said with a smile as Aza left the room, before turning his annoyed look to the group of girls. Seriously, one day? You couldn't wait one day before circling like vultures? You just don't want her to realize why she should dump you, Kates accused. Nope, I just don't like having my girlfriend in a bad mood. Maybe you'll understand that if you ever get a boyfriend, Kates, Issei taunted with a cheeky grin. If you get the kendo stick out your ass, that is. Perverted asshole, Kates shot back with a glare. I know, I'm not normally in such a rotten mood. Even with girls that normally beat me up with kendo sticks, Issei pointed out with an entirely fake smile. Almost like having all of you harass a girl for asking me out pisses me off. Strange how that works, he asked sarcastically. Now if you'll excuse me, I have someone waiting for me. The class watched Issei leave, no one speaking until Motohama and Matsuda started applauding their buddy, grinning in spite of the glares being hurled their way. That was almost cool of him, and I hate it, Murayama stated with a sigh. Maybe this means he'll stop peeping, one of the other girls suggested hopefully. If Issei quits coming to the peep shows, I'm calling that the lucky bastard is getting something extra from that girl of his, Matsuda murmured to Motohama, who nodded sagely. Meanwhile, Issei groaned as he walked down the halls. Peeking aside, he was normally more or less a gentleman to girls. But even discounting his genuine annoyance, he had to do something to get them off Oz's case. He was pretty sure he actually saw the tentacles this time, even if no one else did. And just leaving with her would have probably just made them try and talk sense into Ozza more the first chance they got. Hopefully that little display got them to leave things alone. He had been honest though. He could take them talking bad about him, but it got frustrating watching Ozza get upset over their words. At least they weren't insulting Ozza herself, just her taste in boyfriends. Still, he pushed that aside as he ascended the stairs, wondering how this would go. Had Ozza already cooled off or was she in an apocalyptic mood now? He opened the door and saw that the sky was still there and not turned into any nightmarish colors. He'd take that as a good sign. He looked around and quickly found Ozza was indeed up here, talking to a schoolgirl. That'd be a bad sign if Ozza wasn't smiling. Hey, Ozza. Made a friend? Issei called with a smile while glancing at the student's back, finding it oddly familiar. Issei? And I'm not sure if friend is the right word for her, Ozza said, looking at her new acquaintance in amusement. You really are a lucky one, Issei, the girl called without turning around, but her voice was familiar enough as well. Aika, Issei realized in minor annoyance. He didn't hate the girl so much as he hated how perverted she was without getting much flack for it since she was a girl. Still, he squinted as he realized why he hadn't recognized her from behind. Why are you wearing a headband? Hee, it's a little dangerous to look directly at the sun, she answered as she turned to Issei finally with a smirk, who looked stunned by her new accessory. Or at the center of chaos. Issei just stared on, studying the blindfold that Aika kept over her eyes, humorously, under her glasses. All along it were strange runes and symbols that he instinctively knew would have made his eyes hurt to stare at, if he wasn't a budding eldritch. Okay, what the hell? Ozza, you mindfuck her without me noticing? What? No, she was already like this when I got here, Ozza promised in assurance. It turns out that there is already an eldritch cultist at this school. And like any good worshipful bag of meat, I came to offer the Demon Sultana any service she might require of this humble one while on this planet, Aika said with an almost manic smile, placing a hand over her heart as she bowed at the waist to Ozza, before turning with a mischievous, perhaps lecherous expression towards Issei. Or her beloved Kungur, for that matter. Issei stared for a moment before shaking his head. Okay, going to need questions answered for this one. First, I'm going to guess the blindfold isn't a kinky thing? Issei asked with his arms crossed. To not bore you with my life story, let's just say that unlike your friend, my scouting powers are a bit more otherworldly in origin, Aika answered, mock adjusting her glasses for effect. I can actually see perfectly fine through this cloth, but the seals keep me from seeing past weakened fields of reality caused by eldritch intrusion. So, I don't go absolutely insane from glancing at the Queen of the Eldritch. And you're just going to be wearing that all day? Issei asked in confusion. Oh, no. It doesn't work like that. It's only a problem if I look directly at her human form without protection, Aika clarified, tilting her head. You really are new to this? Aika, I still haven't even met the dragon in my hand yet, Issei explained with a snort. Aika tilted her head, looking between the eldritch couple. That a sex joke? Ozza looked positively pleased about the situation for some reason, but didn't voice why. Anyway, I was just about to ask our dear little devotee who her patron is, she said, putting her attention back on Aika. Issei couldn't help noticing how Aika instantly stood a bit straighter and bowed her head to Ozza. Which made sense, he realized. Ozza was the head goddess of whatever religious group Aika was involved in. I currently don't have one, Supreme One. I am but a young mortal, giving worship to all of the gods while searching for one that calls to this one soul, Aika gave in a submissive and devoted tone. It was kind of unnerving to Issei, but kind of not at the same time? Almost like he expected it, like it was natural. One of the generalities that I've heard about. Ozza realized, sounding fond and curious of the concept. At Issei's confused look, she elaborated. While they can give praise to others, most cultists are devoted to one specific god. However, Earth is an oddball, so one of the outer gods here set up generalities or neutral cults. Essentially cults where a new worshipper can try and find which god they want to serve the most, or if a god wants them specifically. Huh. Okay, that makes sense, Issei accepted. Honestly, in the long list of things he had learned recently, introductory cults for the undecided seemed low on the totem pole of unbelievable. And here I thought I was going to meet your cult, Aza. Oh, I don't really have one on this planet, just some scattered worshippers. Aza answered before looking down in confusion, seeing that Aika had now gotten down on both knees, prostrating herself before the human form of the greatest of the eldritch. If you desire it, I shall be more than happy to eternally devote my soul to you, O mistress of reality, Aika vowed with an eager submission to her voice. I fear one such as me might not be worthy to serve one as supreme and magnificent as you directly, but I will dedicate all to you if you desire it, my queen. Geez, Aika, I half expected you to start kissing her shoe at that, Issei stated in shock from the little display. He actually took a step back as he saw Aika lean forward and raise her head enough to do just that, laying a trail of kisses upon his girlfriend's footwear. Well, I can't say this isn't arousing on some level, Issei stated, glancing to the side with a small blush. Aza didn't look at all surprised by the display, as if it wasn't strange. Considering who and what she was, it wasn't. Still, she hummed thoughtfully before shaking her head. As much as I appreciate another cultist, I was more interested in you becoming Issei's cultist. Heh. It was very telling that this response came from both Issei and Aika, the later looking up in shock. Before immediately bowing her head again in apology. Are you sure, ma'am? Your Majesty. Not that I'm not honored to be a cultist for your beloved, but I'm not sure that's a good idea. Aika said, very uncertain and scared of offending the insanely powerful being whose feet she was just kissing. How so? Aza asked with a scowl. It wasn't menacing, yet, just a bit disappointed and contemplative. Well, for one, I'm not sure how to found a cult properly, ma'am. Especially not the first one a god has ever had. Aika explained, taking a cautious glance back at Issei before daring to glance up at Aza with a confused look. Also, no offense to him, but do cultists even really do anything for him yet? I mean, he's still, what? Only a percent of a percent done going from human to eldritch? Is a percentage 1 in 100 or 1 in 1,000? Aza murmured to herself before shaking her head. Regardless, it never hurts to start building up your religion. And if anything, enough worship might stroke his eldritchhood into rising for the occasion. Okay, that was a sex joke, Issei called out, Aza giggling with a wide smile. And don't I get a say in this? Of course you do, dear. It's your cult. I just assumed you'd like a girl like her on her knees try to please you, Aza stated before blinking. Oh, and that wasn't a sex joke that ti-. Yeah, I realized that, Aza, Issei cut off as he buried his hand in his face for a second. Aika svalove nervously. She could be a little casual with an eldritch god without panicking, sure, but an instinctive fear gripped her when Issei did something as disrespectful as cut off the queen of the eldritch. The more telling and terrifying thing was that Azathoth wasn't offended or upset. She didn't even seem fazed by it, like they were equals. That was scary and confusing, but it was in no way her place to question. Look, Aza, as much as I appreciate the offer, it is way too early into everything for me to even think about how to handle a full-scale cult. So I'd rather put that on the back burner for now, Issei answered, trying to sound apologetic, but his tone mostly just conveyed how overwhelmed and tired the idea made him feel. That sounds fine with me. Starting early for me just means within 20 years, Aza answered with a shrug. Honestly though, I'm getting temporal whiplash trying to adjust to a human sense of time. Don't worry, my queen, I hear that's normal for outer gods during their first times in human forms, Aika assured, glancing up at her. So, is that a no to being your worshipper? Well, I would, but I am trying for this whole human experience as best I can. I think having one of my classmates worshipping me would kind of ruin that, Aza stated, cupping her chin in thought. Aza, I wouldn't be too sure of that, Issei stated with a snicker. Huh? What do you mean, Issei? Aza asked with a head tilt. Oh, the great boob lover is just recalling how a lot of the students all but worship the most popular girls here, namely Rias Gremory and Sona Citri, Aika explained with her own amusement. You know they're devils, right? Issei asked curiously. Well, I figured as much. Once you know the supernatural is real and do a bit of research, you realize those two are not very subtle with those surnames, Aika explained, rolling her eyes behind the blindfold. Is that so? Aza remarked thoughtfully before nodding. I'll consider it, Ika. For right now, I need some alone time with my beloved. As you will, O great dreamer, Ika stated with another bow to the floor before rising to her feet. She turned to leave, removing the blindfold as she did. She stopped, giving Issei a bow as well, along with a smirk as her golden eyes flashed playfully. Until next time, Lord Issei. Lord? Really, he repeated skeptically. You're a budding eldritch god and the consort of Azathoth. Calling you Lord is already casual for someone like me, Ika pointed out, dry and blunt. Aza didn't seem bothered by the tone, but she decided not to press her luck. Do tell me if and when you need help, practicing with your tentacles, my lord. Issei stared as she left, shaking his head clear as the door closed. Okay, I feel like I just turned down a threesome without realizing it, he remarked before turning to Aza and promptly found himself kissing her. It wasn't a long one, no tongues were involved, but it was nice. Well, that's one way to start things, he stated with a smile as he wrapped his arms around her. I needed that. It's nice knowing I have a cultist whenever I need one, but those other girls? Aza grumbled in his embrace. Issei was about to say something, before frowning as he felt something. Not something here, but something through Aza herself. Aza, what did you just do? He asked suspiciously. I just destroyed a planet somewhere, Aza answered casually, blinking at his alarmed look. Don't worry, it wasn't populated or anything. Oh, well. Okay then, Issei accepted awkwardly. It was a bit crazy to contemplate, blowing up planets for stress relief, but if it was just a dead rock, he couldn't see too much issue in it. I guess it's kind of my fault, peeking at all. Issei, I know you. So I know you're only saying that because you don't like those girls upsetting me and you are mildly worried I might do something horrible to them, Aza said flatly. Hee, I guess that's true. Pervert and all, Issei admitted sheepishly. Just never imagined having a girlfriend would be this complicated. Aza gave him an odd look. You're not even talking about me being an eldritch goddess, are you? She asked in amused fondness. Nope. I'm referring entirely to the female student body trying to get my girlfriend to break up with me, Issei answered, getting a hug and another kiss on the cheek. What was that for? He asked with a grin. Being you, Aza answered with a giggle. So, what now? Well, not to spoil our alone time while we have it, but should we talk about this thing in my hand? Issei asked, holding up his right hand. Other hand, dear, Aza corrected, waiting until Issei changed hands before clearing her throat. Ahem. Drake. Wake up please. I'm not asleep, Queen of the Eldritch. Issei reeled back in shock as a red gauntlet appeared on his hand with a green jewel on the back of the hand. Okay, what the actual fuck? Are you the dragon Aza was talking about? He asked in alarm. Indeed. I am Drake, the Red Dragon Emperor, Drake answered nobly as the jewel glowed with yellow sparks. Yo? Nice to meet you, I guess. I'm Issei Hayadu, Issei greeted uncertainly, glancing to Aza. So, he's the reason bird people were trying to kill me? Ah. Bird people. Drake laughed in genuine amusement. I guess so, Aza answered casually. My information on Earth is very outdated, I'm sure. Still, I was surprised to learn that fallen angels tried to assassinate my wielder preemptively. Normally the various factions first try for recruitment with my wielders, Drake confessed. Right, by the way? There a reason I have you or this a blind luck kind of deal? Issei asked curiously. Each sacred gear passes to a newborn after the death of the previous wielder. I'd normally say only time will tell why you, but you're already marrying Azathoth, Drake explained with a snort. You literally can't do better than that. Not disagreeing, Issei acknowledged with a wry smile. So, how do this work? Well, since it will take time to ascend into your more unearthly nature, Azathoth has made an arrangement with me. I aid and protect you to the best of my abilities, she gets me a new body when you have outgrown me some, Drake explained simply. Sounds like a good deal. Though, new body? Are you like a ghost dragon or something? Issei asked idly. I suppose? Drake answered uncertainly. Well, not to flaunt my ignorance, but what do you do exactly? Issei asked curiously. The power of the boosted gear is to boost your power. Which translates to doubling it every 10 seconds, before reaching your true limit, Drake elaborated delicately. That said, it helps the stronger you are to start with. And as you're an average teenage human. Yeah, I get it, I'm kind of trash. What did you expect, this stuff didn't exist for me 24 hours ago? Issei grumbled. On the upside, just possessing me means you can train and push your powers beyond mortal limits and that's without the, what did Yog-Sothoth call it? Eldritchification, Dreg assured. You were listening? Well, this'll be awkward for a while, Issei murmured. Still, that's awesome. No offense to you, Aza, but I'd rather not have to hide behind you every time something dangerous happens. Issei, no offense could possibly be taken, she said with complete seriousness. I don't mind protecting you, but the more powerful you are, the less I have to be paranoid about. While true, something feels strange about his potential. Stranger even for an eldritch, Dreg commented thoughtfully. I believe that this is what was meant by needing to make a choice about your power level? Because your maximum potential seems to be switching between being far weaker than me and being about as powerful as Shub-Niggurath. Is that a compliment? Issei asked curiously, glancing between the gear and his girlfriend. She's an outer god, and Yog's sister, Aza explained simply. Compliment it is then, Issei decided in surprise before looking curious. Do you have any siblings, Aza? Dreg spiritually rolled his eyes. Of course she doesn't ha-dash. No, but I do have a niece, Aza answered with a smile. How does that work? Issei wondered with a scrunched brow. I am now as lost as you are, Dreg admitted in bewilderment. Don't worry, I'm sure she'll show up to meet you eventually, Aza said with confidence. Right. Well, much as I have more questions, we should probably head back before the bell. Dreg, how do I turn you off? Issei asked awkwardly. I'm not joining in on this sex jokes thing you both have going on, Dreg stated flatly before the gauntlet vanished. Well, this day has been interesting, Issei decided, giving Aza a concerned look. So, you think you can handle going back without unleashing mind hell on them? Issei, please don't treat me like I'm an idiot, Aza whined pleadingly. Aza, the only evidence I have of you being an idiot is loving me, Issei said with a self-deprecating grin. Aza blinked, considering that line of logic. And just this once, being called an idiot doesn't feel so bad. You say something, Aza? Issei asked curiously. Nothing, beloved, Aza answered with a smile. Let's go, before they think you, what's the word for less than sex but more than just touching? Issei gave her an odd look. Molest? Yeah, that, Aza answered with a smile before giving him a look. Unless of course you want to molest me, dear. Issei blushed slightly before glaring. Okay, you started this, Issei said as he brought his hands together. Aza looked confused at that. What are you, ohhhhhh? Aza moaned, her whole body shuddering as her face went crimson. That was playing dirty, Issei. Praying to me is bad enough, but such lewd thoughts and images forced into my mind and that wouldn't even work like that on me. Aza protested, blushing harder. Like I said, you started it, Aza, Issei said with a grin, lowering his hands. Besides, you called it a glory hole. You knew I couldn't resist sticking myself in that. Aza's eye twitched, her veins bulging and withering like tentacles beneath her skin for a second before regaining control of herself. For the record, I am going to murder your virginity by the end of this weekend, she warned, completely matter-of-factly. That's not a motive for me to stop, Issei pointed out slowly. Aza gave him a meaningful smirk. Who said anything about stopping? I'm sure you all have questions given the past 24 hours. Rias kept up a calm yet stern face as she stood before her peerage of Akino, Kiba, and a now less pale Kaneko. Well, considering all the gossip going on about the new girl being a girlfriend to one of the perverted trio, I'm sure we're not the only ones, Akino stated in an attempt to lighten the mood. The lack of smile on Rias's face sobered them all relatively well. As you all know, there are many different factions among the supernatural community, Rias remarked. Aza Rabufudo is a being from one faction that rarely interacts with the devils, or any others for that matter, the Eldritch. Kaneko flinched while the other two looked surprised, not to be too blunt, but as in things like tentacle space monsters? Kiba asked for clarification. Honestly, yes. Unlike the rest of the supernaturals on Earth, they are entirely otherworldly in origin. Just like the Eldritch are with the majority of humans, they often don't care for our affairs unless their paths are crossed, Rias explained. How did that pervert get involved? Kaneko asked suddenly. Rias sighed. We have no idea. All we know is that Issei Hayadu is somehow an interest to the Eldritch and that we all should avoid the ire of Aza Rabufudo at all costs, Rias explained. Rias, who is she, really? Akino asked in concern. Kaneko looked up at that. Her name is Dash. Don't. Rias cut in quickly, sighing at their looks. That's another thing. Saying the name of an Eldritch, especially a deity, is to draw their attention. Most of them are ancient, predating all known life on Earth, and their powers are strange to say the least, their minds alone having power and their true presence reduces most humans to insanity. Kaneko paled harshly at that. Rias, I dash. It's okay, Kaneko, Rias assured gently. Technically speaking, Aza is one of the exceptions. She seems to ignore whenever her name is casually invoked or just doesn't realize when it is. That said, it's better safe than sorry while she is here. But couldn't the great Satans inquire to the leaders of the Eldritch as to why one their own is in Gremory territory? Kiba suggested diplomatically. Rias gave an empty smile. That would be easy in theory, seeing as the Queen of the Eldritch just transferred to this school. Dead silence greeted her as Kaneko turned white as a ghost. A god queen is dating Issei Hayadu? Akino summarized slowly. In the shortest terms, yes, Rias agreed, giving them all one of the most serious looks they had ever seen from her. Aza Rabufuto could easily destroy this entire planet if provoked. Once my brother finds out she's here, he might just order us all back to the underworld for our own safety. I only wanted to stay when I thought retreating was premature, but the situation accelerated rather rapidly with someone like her on our doorstep. That said, I'd rather not draw anyone's attention by disappearing all of a sudden. Not to mention we need to get Gaster ready to leave when we do, she explained before taking a breath. Any questions? Should we be at all concerned about the human students? Kiba asked, feeling both awkward yet concerned. Because I heard this Aza is less than thrilled with the insults about her boyfriend. Kiba, I say this with full honesty, there is nothing we can do to help them if she becomes displeased with them, Rias explained solemnly. Sona is already giving a similar speech to her peerage. If you have any unfinished business, I suggest getting it done within the next day or two. Why weren't we ever told about this? Kaneko asked with a scowl. Rias almost flinched, looking apologetic. Because we didn't think it would be an issue. Sona and myself only know about the Eldritch as a formality, not because we ever expected to have a serious run-in with any of them. If there's nothing else? Everyone shook their heads, Kiba and Kaneko leaving as Akino approached her king. Are you all right? The half-fallen asked in concern. No, I'm not, Rias remarked with a long exhale as she leaned against the desk. I thought I was being rational, standing my ground and choosing to stay after I first heard that name. I thought Sona and I could be the ears on the ground, keeping an eye out for anything happening here. Now that she's here and definitely knows who we are, I'm starting to think I was just an arrogant fool, who couldn't swallow her pride to protect her friends. Rias, you know that's not true, Akino remarked sternly. You're not a coward, so of course it's in your nature to hold firm and adapt to struggle. That's part of what makes you great. But I know, if you thought the situation was truly hopeless, you'd make the right decision for everyone, she assured, putting her arm around Rias in a hug before grinning. Besides, who would have imagined someone so important would ask out one of the pervert trio? Haha, I suppose you're right, Rias said with a grateful laugh, before her expression turned pensive. I know that look, Rias. What is it? Akino questioned curiously. I know Kaneko should be okay, but if something happens, I'm debating if I shouldn't ask ask her for help, Rias explained with a scowl. I don't need to tell you, but that might be a bad idea, Akino mused before looking thoughtful. But what about Issei? What? Rias looked to her with a furrowed brow. Ask him for help? Ask him to deliver the message. He might be a pervert, but he never came off as a particularly terrible person, Akino pointed out. Though, more to the point, I meant I should ask him on your behalf. Akino, I'm not going to use you as a test dummy to see if I'll get smited for talking to him, Rias remarked with a deadpan look. Yes, well, I'm pretty sure your brother might kill me if you died in the attempt, Akino pointed out with genuine concern. My brother wouldn't do th-. I meant in grief-stricken rage, Akino amended. Rias opened her mouth again before closing it. Point taken, she reluctantly admitted. She knew her brother loved her, that her whole family loved her. And while Surzex was normally very good at remaining in control of himself, one never knew how others would handle such grief until it came. I'll think about it, Akino. I don't want any more of you endangered because of me. Akino nodded before humming. So, do you think this will accelerate or stall the Phoenix issue? She asked, somehow both delicate and blunt. I have no idea, Rias admitted, massaging her temple. That could go either way and I hope I can make it swing in my favor. Meanwhile, school had went and ended relatively pleasantly, relatively in the sense that the girls were no longer trying to insult Issei in front of Aza. Thus, none were unknowingly risking their sanity and souls by provoking her. Issei called that a victory. But there was one big question he realized had to be asked. You want me to meet your parents? Aza asked in surprise. Well, yeah. Well, I wouldn't say married just yet, but I'm just going to call it engaged? Issei guessed uncertainly. It's a fitting concept for us at the moment, yes? Aza answered as she wondered where this was going. Yeah, well, as far as the not-supernatural side of the world is concerned, we're dating. That includes my parents, because explaining us being married would mean explaining everything, Issei pointed out, Aza nodding in perfect understanding. So, for right now, I figured I should introduce you to them as my girlfriend. Partially so you can get to know them, but also so nobody has to keep rewriting their memories every time you come over. Yog and I don't take anything important out, just what they probably would want to dash. Aza stopped at the look Issei was giving her. I understand. You would rather not have the minds of those that brought you into the world tampered with more than what is absolutely needed. No offense, but do you really? Issei asked without a hint of judgment. Seriously, I understand some things are a bit harder for Eldritch to grasp. I'll admit I'm a bit confused on the leaps between subjects you do and don't understand, but that's beside the point. Oh no, I actually have experience with this. As a bystander, Aza assured, looking off over her shoulder, seemingly at nothing. Yog felt bad messing with her parents' memories when she was younger, before she realized she was doing it all the time. She'll never admit it, but the idea that time is linear for most beings really baffled her when she was young. Yog's parents, Issei remarked with a distant look of his own. Scary to think about, but glad you understand. So, do you want to meet them? Not especially, Aza said with a sheepish look. I'd rather wait a little bit, if it's all the same to you. Otherwise, I get the feeling I'm going to make a fool of myself. You're the queen of the Eldritch, and you're worried about embarrassing yourself in front of two everyday humans? Issei asked, skeptical yet amused. They're not everyday humans, Issei. They're the parents of my beloved. That instantly makes them important, you know, unless you had a bad relationship with them. Then I wouldn't care. But I think you don't, so I do, Aza explained, tilting her head. Am I making sense? Issei blinked, making sure he followed those sentences correctly before shaking his head clear. Yes, I have a good relationship with my parents. They're not exactly thrilled with me and my perversion all the time, but I love them. I'm sure that Eldritch parents have trouble with their kids sometimes, right? Issei asked with a small grin. Right, Aza answered, hiding her sheepishness. Shut up you two, I can hear you both laughing across space and time. If you don't mind me asking, what are you worried about exactly? Issei asked curiously. It's like you said, I don't exactly have this pretend to be human thing pinned down yet. If I do it now, I'm sure they'll just think I'm a weird and not good daughter-in-law material, Aza stated before looking very concerned. Oh, that? Don't worry, I have an easy solution for that. When you're ready, Issei said confidently. We just tell them you're foreign. Eh? What do you owe? Oh, right, humans find humans from other parts of the world strange, Aza realized in relief. I think it's called culture shock. Not exactly, but close, I think, Issei said with a shrug. Though, why would your perversion be a problem with your parents? I know you don't have any interest in your own mother, Aza stated curiously. Don't most human parents desire grandchildren? Issei grimaced heavily at that mental image. Okay, never bringing up the Oedipus topic again, please. As for why, like I said, it's a human thing. Especially here sometimes. Most see it as inappropriate to be a pervert and my parents are worried I'll end up a loser and alone for the rest of my life. Humans are weird, Aza murmured with a sigh before smiling encouragingly. Well, if it makes you feel any better, one day you'll be able to peek on anyone you want without being caught egh, Aza stated, exclaiming in alarm as Issei grabbed her by both shoulders, staring into her eyes with an extremely serious look. What? What did I say? Aza, what did you mean by that just now? Issei asked with a glint in his eyes. Well, Eldritch gods can peer clear across the universe, and I'm assuming you'll focus that ability towards spying on beautiful naked female mortals? Aza asked, like it was obvious. And when do I learn that power? Issei asked as if it was suddenly the most important thing in the universe. Is this what it feels like to be intimidated? Aza asked curiously before smiling lewdly. Feels kind of nice. Aza, don't try to distract me with sexy bedroom eyes, Issei retorted with determination. I'm not, just enjoying, well, whatever this feeling is. My knees feel shaky and my spine is quivering. As for when, I don't know, she answered with a shrug. Ah well, something to look forward to, Issei said with a resigned sigh. So, what shall we do for the rest of the day? Well, she started with a seductive smirk. I did say I was going to murder your virginity. Issei grinned stupidly with a small blush. I thought you said this weekend? By the weekend, beloved, Aza retorted with a half-lidded look. So, what do you say? Shall we continue where we left off? I'd love to, Aza, Issei said, his face melting into annoyance as he glared behind them. If you don't cockblock me this time, Yog. The time goddess just grinned, standing in what had been an empty street behind the couple. You wound me, my king, she said with an overdramatic bow, hand over her heart, or where a human's heart would be, at least. I'm just here to help. In the way that amuses you best, Aza stated with her own blank stare. What is it, Yog? Did you come to rush some of Issei's decision? No, nothing like that. Yog assured with a wave, eyeing Issei up and down for a moment. Though, I see you're getting well acquainted with the Gotch. Gotch? Issei repeated in confusion. Your dragon's full name, Draig Gotch, Yog answered, glancing at the hand the gauntlet rested within. I see you'll have some draconic themes in your future. Not even sure I want to know what that means, Issei stated warily. Mostly you do, but you don't. Because that would ruin the surprise, Yog stated with a giggle as she spun the blade of her sword between her fingers. Honestly though, I came for you, my queen. What happened? Aza asked with a sigh. It's not the twins again, right? Twins? Issei repeated, unable to hide his interest. Yog just shook her head. Oh no, they're still locked up in the Eye of Jupiter, she answered. Someone dropped a dole on Kr Lion, and Elior is obviously preoccupied. She was hoping we could send someone to deal with it for her. Aza sighed. Can we just warp Hyanna there and let her deal with it? Yog smirked dryly. As effective as that is, I don't think Elior would appreciate coming home to deal with that one. What about Aftangshasat? You're kidding, right? Do you want to ruin his vacation, for a dole? We'd never hear the end to his grumbling. What about Aftalhangunaga? You're kidding, right? Yog asked in actual surprise and disbelief. Please tell me you're joking? What, they can do it, Aza stated confidently. I'm not doubt they can, I'm doubting Elior wants that forest planet turned into a death world. Yog stated in alarm. What about just sending Yad? Yad? Yog repeated, her eyes glazing over for an instant. Well, she seems to be free, so I guess you'll be able to do it. You couldn't have come to that conclusion yourself? Aza asked with a raised eyebrow. I could, but I thought your hubby might enjoy learning a little bit about the rest of the Eldritch community and its issues, Yog stated, causing them both to stare at Issei, who was wearing a fairly interested look on his face. I'm mostly impressed those names don't hurt my brain when I try to remember them, Issei remarked with a shrug. I'm guessing a dole is bad? They're a planet infestation problem in the form of, think of something between a worm and snake, but giant, Yog explained, getting a grimace from Issei. Yeah, we all have the same thought about them. Well, take care you too. Enjoy losing your V card, lover boy. She cut open a portal and vanished, leaving Issei blushing as Aza held his arm with a small smirk on her lips. So, I'm probably going to have to learn a lot about the other Eldritch, I'm guessing, he answered, scratching his cheek. Seeing as you'll be one of us, I'd hope so, Aza agreed as they continued walking to his house. But for right now, the only Eldritch I want you to learn about is me. Intimately. Issei cracked a smirk at that. Don't you mean, intimidatingly? Also yes. Meanwhile. So, you finally came down off your fluffy clouds? Two men stood in an apartment, one with short hair of black and yellow who was smirking, the other pure blonde with a small smile and perpetually sad eyes. It has been a long time, Azazel, the second man said fondly. Well, I would have invited you for a drink, but even if the ceasefire wasn't so tense, I doubt you would have accepted. Right, Michael? Azazel joked while taking a drink of his iced alcohol, motioning for his former ally and technical enemy to take a seat. I take it that you being here means that the rumors are true. The Queen of the Eldritch has descended upon the world of men, yes, Michael answered with a troubled frown. Have you spoken with the Satan Lucifer? Yes, but I heard the tales ahead of that. Whatever happened loosened some lips among my more bold subordinates, Azazel answered with a frown of his own. We used to have a few allies among the Eldritch. Did they say anything? The only warning we received was this, the center has found her center, Michael answered with a headshake. We didn't realize even what it was hinting at until Surzex informed us. Oi, always with the roundabout, prophetic way of telling you things, Azazel grumbled. So, what do we do? Besides supposedly retaliating against fallen angels, she appears to have made no overt move. Her only interest on this world so far has been a mortal by the name of issei, Michael explained. Issei. I'll have to look into that. Still, I don't think this action was hidden so much as unplanned, Azazel informed, swirling his drink. The fallen have an interesting relationship with cults, eldritch or otherwise. Not only did we not hear anything through the more tentacled grapevine, the cults started stirring only after the eldritch queen arrived. She didn't just come unannounced, she came without warning her fellow eldritch. If that is true, it is most troubling. One like her doesn't just arrive without rippling every pool even remotely close to her being, Michael remarked. We can only hope to avoid drawing her attention, or her wrath. No, you can, my friend. I have to sort out this issue of what happened between her and my fallen before one of her underlings decides our dismembered wings would be a good offering to her, Azazel stated with a frustrated sigh. Luckily, I have something that might help appease her, if I need to. Or, fuck, even if I don't need to. Something? Or someone? Michael asked knowingly. You already tossed her aside for your greater good, Mike, you can't really complain, Azazel retorted scathingly. Nor would I, Michael accepted. We may have to abandon the world of men altogether. As much as I hate to admit it, you might be right. All the factions moving out and letting the eldritch do their business, hoping they'll leave before someone steps on an appendage might just be the smartest thing. Still, I don't like it and I'd rather not jump ship just yet, Azazel remarked, taking a long, last sip of his drink. That just leaves one problem. Michael nodded. Anyone foolish enough to intentionally provoke the eldritch and their queen, or anyone discontent and desperate enough to deal with them. This all started near Kuo, right? Azazel asked rhetorically, rubbing his eyes. I honestly feel bad for Surzex and Seraphal. Their little sisters are there, right in the center of anything and everything that could go wrong. There is one silver lining, Michael remarked with a smile that could almost be called coy. I doubt any of the three factions will be interested in restarting the war anytime soon with this going on. Azazel let out a short laugh, agreeing and enjoying the irony of it all. Issei. Just how are you involved in all this, he wondered curiously. Meanwhile. Eldritch Lemon warning. Oh, Issei, yes. Aza moaned beneath him, her body pressed against a hard yet squishy purple substance that covered the landscape, the sky a misty green with 3 moons or planets observable through the atmosphere. Plateaus of impossibly curving nature dotted the strange sea, with long and bulky beasts floating in the distance. But Issei paid no heed to any of that, focusing instead on the withering female beneath him, taking her supple breast into his mouth, suckling it as if he were a lamprey. By my throne, beloved, Aza whispered in need, arching her back into him, her hands running over his bare back. Issei only faintly wondered when Aza got such long claws. Or when his backside was covered in ice. His right hand trailed down her slim backside, his middle and index fingers lengthening and reshaping into tentacles, slithering into the crack of her rear, probing and wiggling against the rosebud. Oh! Aza moaned as his digit entered her, pushing his head away to look him in the eye with a smirk. How naughty, Issei, she purred, eyes glowing with otherworldly delight. Bits of her face grew spikes and insect-like carapaces. Issei licked his own far too many teeth as he felt a tail, which Aza didn't have before, reaching up to curl around his balls, squeezing and kneading them. He moaned at the unexpected and incredible pleasure, grinning as Aza flipped him onto his back, her very shadow holding him in place, leaving feather-like kisses on the back of his neck. Aza took a deep sniff as she straddled his waist, a primal rumbling in her throat as their bodies became less and less human. You will be king of the Eldritch, Aza promised sweetly, teasingly. But for tonight, you are just my beloved, and I am just your Aza, she said, leaning in. And I promised to murder your virginity, did I not? Issei was acutely aware that his mind had warped, fractured and healed itself over the course of this experience. But he also absolutely didn't care the slightest bit. Aza's eyes widened before fluttering in delight as he lurched forward against her hold, seizing her lips. She startled, giggling and then moaning as she felt his former pubic hairs turn into tentacles, reaching to take in her lower lips as well. She pulled back with a hazed look in the 6 eyes. But I must say, for being so new to this, you are incredibly gifted with this body of yours, she praised. What can I say, he asked with a voice that only faintly sounded like his own, his vision trailing over her body in all its dark divinity. I have some great motivation. Their bodies met. And mad souls across the cosmos gave praise as the demon sultana lovingly crowned her eternal sultan. Issei groaned as he awoke. So, this is what a hangover must feel like, he decided as he gripped his head with his taloned hands. He looked to his hand in shock, finding it normal. He scrutinized it, but it was apparently just his regular hand. He turned his head, directing his attention to the other person in his bed. Issei grinned at the strange yet very enjoyable memories of the previous night as he gazed upon Aza's naked form, hidden only by a thin blanket. Was there some ego to be had in fucking the most powerful woman in all of reality? Yes, there was. To pretend there wasn't would be a lie, but he was honestly more focused on his lack of virginity while enjoying how peaceful and content his eldritch lover looked. Fucking her to satisfaction on his first night? Now that was an ego stroke he would privately indulge in. As if her issei senses tingled, Aza began to stir. Her face scrunched adorably as she yawned, revealing that she had two tongues that quickly remerged into one. With a loving hum, she opened her eyes and smiled up at Issei. "Good morning, beloved. Did you sleep well?" "For whatever sleeping I actually did after all that," Issei said in lecherous amusement. "You have good dreams? And was I in any of them?" "Of course you weren't," Aza said, rubbing her sleepy eyes. "You're too perfect to be from any of my dreams." "No comment," Issei said after a moment of thought. He wasn't 100% sure what that meant, but it was definitely a compliment. Aza smirked as she felt Issei's eyes trailing over her again. "Up for another round, Issei?" she asked playfully. "I'd normally say yes, but we definitely overslept and, well, I don't know about Miss Queen of the Universe, but I'm still human enough to need breakfast," he teased with a grin. "Need? No. Want?" "Another time, yes," Aza said, lifting herself up to stretch, her two arms unfolding into 6 limbs as she bent and twisted to loosen her body. Issei enjoyed the show, eyeing her nude form fondly. "So, not that I'm going to complain, but is sex going to be like that all the time?" "Which part?" Aza asked curiously as her arms folded back into one another, for lack of a better word. "The unbelievable pleasure, the morphing limbs, or the random planet we fucked on?" Issei took a moment to realize she was completely serious. "Well, I'm hoping the first stays, but the other two?" he asked with a raised eyebrow. "It will, and I'm sure we can spice it up if needed," Aza assured, wiggling her brows. "As for the limbs, that's instinctive on your part. You should be able to stop it after a while, if you want. But eventually, you probably won't want to stop them." "The other planet was all me though," she said with a grin. "I thought it was a nice change of scenery." Issei hummed curiously and pulled up the sheets to check his bed. So that's why it's so clean. We didn't actually do it here." "Nope. I also think that, well, we might have literally destroyed your bed if we stayed here," Aza pointed out sheepishly. "Which, while feeling like something to brag about, would be very hard to explain to my parents," Issei mused before blinking. "Oh, right, my parents. They still don't know about you." "So?" Aza asked with a head tilt. "I thought we agreed to wait on that." "Well, yeah, but you can't exactly have breakfast here if they don't know who you are," Issei pointed out before deadpanning. "Or are you going to pull some mindfuckery?" Aza pouted. "I wouldn't do that without your permission, beloved," she said firmly. "I'd say I know that, but, well, like you said, you're still learning this human thing," Issei said before sighing. "And I suppose I should start learning this eldritch thing soon." "Soon for us can be 1,000 years, but I appreciate that," Aza said with a smile. "Speaking of eldritch, I was just going to step out for breakfast. As much as I love the idea of having breakfast together after our first time, I have some things to take care of." "Like what Yog stopped by for?" Issei guessed, getting a scowling nod. "I may have, well, a tentacles off style to ruling, but I do need to try and keep up to date on things," Aza answered vaguely. "Seeing as it's the whole universe, at minimum, I can only imagine," Issei reasoned with a chuckle. "Well, have fun at work, I suppose." Aza giggled before warping out of existence. "I wonder if she remembered to put clothes on. Or if she just magics up new ones," Issei said before shrugging, getting out of bed to get dressed himself. He wisely opted for a clean set, so his parents hopefully wouldn't smell anything and he should probably shower quickly, but he had suspicions that yesterday's clothes might still be on whatever planet they fucked on. He chuckled, imagining some otherworldly aliens finding his underwear and having no idea what they were. Meanwhile, "I'm sorry to speak like this," Surzex apologized as they spoke via mini-projections through magic circles. "But my presence in the area could cause unnecessary tension. Trust me, I expected as much." I'm assuming all travel to Earth is starting to be restricted or banned across the realms, with everyone on the supernatural side cautiously evacuating? Her brother nodded grimly. Yukai and other races native to Earth, without a supernatural realm of their own, are already asking for different factions to take refugees. Just in case the situation on Earth deteriorates. You mean, so they don't go extinct if the Eldritch end up destroying the Earth, Rias simplified with a sigh. Not that I can blame them. Rias, Surzek said with brotherly concern. I want you to come home. Rias stared for a second before nodding. Okay, she conceded softly. Surzek raised an eyebrow. I thought you'd be a bit more resistant to it. I would have been, if she hadn't waved at Sona and I in school, Rias answered with a scowl. Staying here will be too dangerous for us, I know. We'll be leaving in less than a week to try and not draw too much suspicion. Reasonable, even if I'd prefer you back even sooner, the great Satan mused with a sigh of relief. I do have one stipulation though, Rias stated firmly. I'd be disappointed if it was that simple, Surzek joked, nodding for her to continue. I want you to help me get Dad to nullify this arranged engagement with Riser, or at least put it on hold indefinitely, Rias said with a scowl. Very well. I know, I shouldn't be Rias stopped before blinking. Wait, what? Did you honestly think I'd let my baby sister be forced to marry someone she doesn't want to? Surzek countered with a warm smile. I've had more than a few plans to help you if you couldn't find a way out yourself. Big brother, Rias whispered, eyes glistening with happiness and sisterly affection. Thank you. I'm glad to know I can count on you. In full honesty, you can rely on father too, sister, Surzek assured. He was just under the impression that you and Riser would be happy together in the long term. I don't see how, but I can believe he believed that, Rias accepted with a bitter sigh. So, how do we go about this, exactly? It'd hardly be a difficult prospect to argue, he continued without pause. Given the current situation? Politically speaking, it'd be wise to consider the possibility of engaging the little sister of a current Satan to an eldritch god. Rias stared, wondering if he was joking or not. He chuckled, calming her. Don't worry, Rias. It's just the excuse we'll need on paper. I have no plans to offer you up to an eldritch. Unless you have to, Rias countered, completely calm and understanding. After a moment, she nodded. With Riser, the only thing really at stake was my future. This has a lot more at stake. If it comes to that, and me marry one of them somehow protects hell from the demon Sultana, then I'd do it, brother. Don't get too ahead of yourself, Rias. One advantage we have is that time is a much longer prospect for the eldritch. If we're careful, the current situation could hold steady for hundreds of years before we have to worry about it, Surzek reminded. That's assuming that no one does anything stupid, Rias mused pessimistically, before letting out a breath of relief. Still, I'm glad at least one good thing came out of this mess. Trust me, that's all any of us hope for right now, Surzek assured. Well, enough about my marital status. You have any news on what is actually going on? Rias questioned hopefully. Only what you've told me, and what Sona has suggested, Surzek answered with a frown. We only started contacting the cults yesterday, so we haven't had a chance to find most of them, let alone hear back. Still, Sona thinks Issei himself might have been an eldritch? Well, a mother desperate for a child after 2 miscarriages seems like a typical cult target, Rias mused with a shrug. While true, it depends on if your first hunch was right or not, if he has a sacred gear, her brother said with a thoughtful scowl. While there have been human half-breeds with sacred gears, Ajuka is certain that eldritch blood wouldn't allow a human half-breed to be, well, considered human enough to inherit one. Right, I almost forgot about that, Rias said with a sigh. I'm not sure if the idea of an eldritch with a sacred gear is terrifying or redundant. Depends on the rank, I suppose, the great Satan commented. But the other aspect is still strange to comprehend. You're saying that the Queen of the Eldritch, the most powerful entity we are aware of, appears to be dating this issei Hayadu? Believe me, I'm fully aware of how insane that sounds, Rias admitted, kneading her scalp. Indeed. It could be that she's just using that as a convenient way to slip into society for whatever she's ultimately after, he mused before his face shifted into concern. How is Kaneko? Okay, I think, Rias answered, hating her own uncertainty. As okay as she can be, at least. She's a bit tense, but I can't really blame her. That's good. Did you ever figure out how she actually got back to the clubhouse? Surzek questioned with interest. No. Kaneko doesn't remember anything after, well, she happened, Rias answered with a frown, to think, an eldritch could do that much damage just by being near her. Neither you nor your peerage are weak, Rias. The queen of the eldritch is just powerful beyond all reason. Meanwhile, normally on a weekend day, Issei would be spending it watching something sexy at home, or with his friends if they had something new. But after losing his V-card, porn was suddenly less interesting. Which he was pretty sure was normal. With that in mind, he decided to have some one-on-one time with a new friend Aza had introduced him to. Hey, Drake. You awake? Issei asked to his hand, feeling a bit awkward as he sat on top of a jungle gym in the middle of an empty park. HM? What? Drake answered in a drowsy voice as a green glow emitted from the back of the hand. Ah, good morning, Your Majesty? I hope you had a good time with your wife. Okay, stop right there, Issei said flatly. We're going to be spending the foreseeable future together, right? Presumably up to 100 years, if not more, Drake confirmed cautiously. Then please drop the formalities. At this point, I'm just a punk that Aza happened to fall in love with, Issei reasoned. Okay, banging the demon sultana has not ruined your ego somehow. I am impressed, Drake admitted. Oh no, it's definitely ruined, Issei said with a grin. I'm just not going mad with power or anything. Ha! Drake barked out a laugh as tension began to leave his soul. Well, you certainly are an interesting one. So, why have you awakened me? I went into hibernation for your privacy. Yeah, I appreciate that, Issei said sheepishly, a bit weirded out by the idea that this dragon in his hand would know everything he did. As for that, well, Aza shoved off to do some Space Queen stuff, and I figured we should talk a bit. Maybe you can give me some advice on getting stronger? I do approve of you being proactive in your rise to power, Drake mused. Still, just normal exercising would be enough for now. Your body is still mostly human, but the Eldritch fraction and my own power will allow you to improve to having speed and strength beyond human limits. That's it, just normal training? Issei questioned, almost disappointed. Were you expecting something special? Drake countered. I just found out gods are real the other day. I don't know what to expect anymore, Issei pointed out. Fair. Regardless, strengthening your base will allow you to reach greater powers more rapidly, Drake explained simply. That aside, what do you wish to know? Well, I doubt I'm that special, so I'm going to go out on a limb and guess you're not the only thing like this? Issei guessed. Sacred gear. And that would be correct. They are rare, but each one is different and has its own nature. Some have spirits like me and others are just artifacts that grant abilities, Drake explained. Right. And you made yourself sound like a big deal. That's why they went after me? Issei questioned. My boosted gear is considered in a class of sacred gear known as the Longinus, Drake explained, pausing as Issei snickered. What's so funny? Sorry, that word almost sounds like longanus when you said it, Issei apologized. Drake's sweat dropped but decided to not snap at the quip. It means that each one is considered a weapon that can kill gods. That sobered Issei up instantly. Gods? Like, legit gods, he asked in surprise. Drake nodded to himself. Indeed, at least if they're terrestrial gods. Terrestrial? Issei repeated. Local to your planet, for lack of a better word, Drake elaborated. That said, outer gods are outside the scope of what any sacred gear can stand against. Taking on a great old one would be risky even at my peak. Wow, so you were a badass, Issei said with a grin, practically feeling Drake preening at the praise. What the actual fuck took you down then if you're a god killer? It's a long story, Drake answered honestly. Well, I got nothing better to do right now, Issei opined with a shrug. Are you certain? Drake asked ominously. Because you appear to have company. Issei let out a surprised hum as he looked around, spotting the approaching figure of a girl. Or, it looked like a human girl at least. She was dark in hair with skin that was far too pale, wearing a black sweater and with mauve-colored pants. Her eyes were black, like two open windows in an unending abyss. Issei knew he should probably be scared or worried on some level. But he wasn't. He wasn't sure what to attribute that to yet. And who are you? He asked with a raised eyebrow. The girl stopped, her movements unnaturally jerky. She fell to her knees, like a puppet whose strings have been cut. I am Gact Horshaft, she answered before bowing her head deeply. It is an honor, King of the Unseen Truth. It was amazing how little that surprised him, or how little that name hurt his brain. Okay, Issei said awkwardly before he cleared his throat. Mind if I go with Gaktha? Call me whatever you desire, my king, she answered submissively. Right. So, why are you here, exactly? Or did you just want to meet me? Issei asked, a bit confused. Gaktha shook her head. My mistress, the All-Mother, tasked me with keeping guard over your sacred person in her absence. Issei blinked. Aza sent me a bodyguard? That is my primary duty, but I can serve however you wish, master, Gaktha answered in devotion. Tempting, Issei admitted. She definitely wasn't the best-looking girl he's seen, but she was by no means ugly. Forgive me for intruding upon your precious time, master, but there are 2 humans seeking an audience with you, Gaktha explained calmly. Shall I dispose of them? One bald, another with glasses? Issei guessed, getting a silent nod. Now he was concerned. What did you do to them, exactly? I froze their minds, master, so that I might consult your desires, Gaktha answered. Right, you can let them come. They're friends of mine, Issei assured, watching as Gaktha silently rose, leaving with a twitchy walk. She is not used to using a human disguise, is she? Evidently not, Drake answered with a hum. She feels like the Sultana, but she is definitely not an eldritch god. Oh, so I wasn't imagining that, feels kind of like Aza thing? Issei realized curiously. I wonder why she didn't tell me she was leaving a guard though. A surprise? Or perhaps it slipped her mind? Drake suggested idly. In any case, I shall be tuning out whatever happens next. I've seen enough of your memories and thoughts to know how these conversations will go. Issei rolled his eyes as he saw his friends approaching, grinning as he jumped off the jungle gym. Yo, man. We stopped by your house and your folks said you were out, Matsuda greeted with a wave. Did you think you'd find a hot mother out here or something? Motohama joked as he fixed his glasses. Nah, just came out for a walk, Issei said, waving it off casually. So, what's up? What's up, he asks. Matsuda repeated with a snort. Don't play dumb you lucky bastard. Now spill the beans on that little honey of yours. Yeah, how did you manage to get such a cute babe on her first day? Or did you just take advantage of her foreign innocence? Motohama asked, peering at his friend with overdramatic intenseness. If I ever figure out how I managed that, you'll be the first to know, Issei answered with a chuckle as he scratched the back of his head. Eh? Issei looked up and saw that both of his human friends had stiffened, staring at him like he was an alien. Which wasn't wrong anymore, but still. What? What is it? That calm, that attitude, Matsuda said with growing horror. He is definitely more relaxed and he's acting cooler, Motohama observed. Issei's sweat dropped as both friends immediately marched up to be in his face. How far have you gotten? They both demanded to know in obvious jealousy. Issei quirked an eyebrow. He'd love to rub it in their faces on some level, but, what the hell, there was an easy answer here. Farther than you either of you, obviously, Issei answered plainly. Oh shit, I think he actually lost his V-card, Matsuda whispered in awe. That or this Aza is an amazing kisser, Motohama muttered jealously. I will confirm that, yes, Issei said smugly. Bastard, Matsuda glared before crossing his arms with a huff. So why the hell are you here on a weekend instead of with your girlfriend, man? Issei shrugged. She had some family stuff to take care of, he answered, and he wasn't technically lying. Family? Does she have a sister? Motohama asked instantly. No, but she apparently has a niece, Issei answered with a shrug. Ha! Must be a big bro with a big age gap, Matsuda guessed, sighing in resignation. What are the odds there's another girl like that on this miserable planet? Issei wisely decided not to make any jokes about Aza not being from this miserable planet. He got the feeling that attempting to date an eldritch would not end as well for these two as it did for him. Meanwhile, Aza sighed as she exited the portal with Yog right behind her as they strolled through what many called the dimensional gap. Those brats really give me a headache sometimes, Aza mused to herself. Now, you're just mad they cut into your cuddling time, Yog teased with a smirk. Aza glared, her hair turning into a tangle of many-eyed limbs. This only amused Yog more, balancing her sword's hilt on her finger. Careful, imagine if you have to make a new body. Your beloved has only started to enjoy this one, she teased. Aza sighed, recollecting herself as her human form resettled. I know, you're right. Anyway, is there anything new to worry about? Oh? You usually wait at least a month or two before asking me for news, Yog noted knowingly. Terrestrials tend to work on a smaller time scale. I need to keep at their pace until Issei is done with his eldritchification, Aza said, looking to Yog oddly. And why are we not just calling it apotheosis? Because eldritchification is more fun. And it's about time we give a word for turning mortals into eldritch, god or not, Yog mused idly. Though, you definitely went fast by human standards. Issei didn't think he'd lose his virginity for years still, even while on your date. You know, I'm not the only one with a love life, Yog, Aza reminded, the time god stiffening. Should I start teasing you about that? That's different. You're lovey-dovey with Issei, Yog reminded, looking away with a sad frown. My love life isn't a bit more rocky than yours. It might help if you didn't run from the problem literally all the time, Aza reminded with a touch of near-motherly scolding. Azathoth, please drop it, Yog requested flatly. Fine, Yog-Sothoth, Aza said firmly, glancing forward. Was this place always this colorful? I'm surprised you didn't know, Yog mused. A dragon god of dreams lives here now. A dragon god? Aza repeated in surprise. Why don't I know about this? Oh, probably just your daughter pranking you again, Yog mused before blinking. Wait, I forgot to check. Did you ever warn Issei about his new stepdaughter? Aza was silent for a moment. An eldritch chorus of flesh flutes and bone lutes echoed through the dimensional gap as Aza cursed into the abyss. Great Red wisely avoided the area. And that's it for today. If you enjoyed, please like, subscribe, share, and make sure to support the original writer. See you in the next video?